Welcome to True Crime and Wine Time. I'm Terry.
And I'm Llama.
Tonight, we are uncorking the truth behind one of the darkest crimes and breaking it down together with you.
One case, one conversation, and one or maybe two glasses of wine to take the edge off. It's time to get comfortable and double check those locks before we get started.
So let's take a sip and dive in.
Hello.
Hello. I was trying to pop my neck. Sorry.
You know what you're not going to believe right now, Terry? Is that, you know how earlier today your mouse, like you couldn't do anything with the wine? My computer's doing that. Like I can't click on anything with this stream, by the way, Amy, if you need, I literally can't click anything here. I can only do my outline, but I was like,
crazy that happened to me. That means there's a virus out there or something.
It's our day.
Fault.
It's just our day. Like I can't expand it. I can't do anything. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's
We're
okay.
here.
We're here.
That's all that matters.
It looks like we have Lady in Gray here. Betty's here.
Hello.
Betty, I hope you're feeling better. Hope you're all healed from your dental surgery.
Yeah, so you guys will have to bring comments up if I can even read them because they're like cut off.
I can. I just realized, let me turn off my volume. I have to say, if there's anyone who's joined us right now that gets merch boxes, Monkey Butt put a little bit of her that she wanted to put into the boxes.
Okay.
Llama's like having technical. You look like I did on Midday Missing. I was like, what is going on here?
I don't know what's happening.
I couldn't do my Canvista. I had no pictures.
I'm gonna log out of my Google and restart it. Why don't you carry on with things and I'll be right back because I can't even see anybody now.
Oh.
So I will be right back. Okay.
Betty, I am glad.
Maybe.
That you've gotten 0 accomplished today. I'm glad you have no pain. Lady in Gray, it was pretty funny. And there's Mr. Lackey. Hello. Verdict reached in Corey Richens. Oh, no. And I just turned my phone off. Okay. Guys, Llama will be right back. It has been a day with technology. Earlier today, I had the problem happen where my mouse got stuck on one window. I couldn't move anything around. I couldn't open, close, and I literally had to hard shut my Mac down. Now, Llama's having the same problem. So I'm going to just go out on a limb and say we are having a Monday monster on our computers.
It's fixed, I guess. I don't know. I just work here. Can't a girl just drink some vodka and talk about true crime? People?
It's been that kind of day.
Oh, a verdict.
Already? That's...
Well, I'm not smart. Well, no, wait, because they're like 2 hours behind. So that was a quick. They were in there all day with for closings.
Yeah. It has been a Monday. But thank you all for hanging out with us on this Monday.
Yes, thank you all very much. Well, before we begin, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or drop an episode because we are always doing something. I mean, hell, we're here on a Monday and we're not even normally here on Monday nights, but
now I'm really confused because Angie says the verdict's can be read at 6:20 Eastern. Is it ahead of me?
Angie is behind.
Okay,
Angie doesn't do time
zones. Okay, I was like, I am doing so much better with time zones.
I love you, Ange.
Thank you, Ange.
Oh, it's a day.
Guys, and if you're listening to us on the podcast apps, please download, leave a rating, and review our little pod because, guys, it helps our little podcast get noticed.
It does. You can also become a member of our YouTube channel, which comes with all sorts of exclusive perks, including additional shows and content. All you have to do is just click the join button and pick which tier works best for you. And the lowest one is just 99 cents.
I mean,
So,
like,
good
and
stuff.
guys, I get asked a comment, "Do y'all always drink?" Guess what, guys? Sometimes we drink coffee. Like
I drink
tomorrow,
a lot of coffee.
I mean, our daytime shows, Midday Missing, I only drink water. It's not always alcohol.
Yeah, no, but also when your podcast is named True Crime and Wine Time, it's kind of
It's
implied.
kind of
So,
a given, yeah.
mhm,
Now,
yeah.
why don't you tell us what we're covering tonight since we're here on a
Well,
Monday?
since we're here on a Monday, tonight is part 5 of our Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaska series, where we are diving deep into infamous serial killer Robert Hansen, his endless number of victims who we refuse to let be forgotten, and how all of it could have been stopped numerous times. So many times. And the state of Alaska has a lot of blood on their hands. And we're here to shine a light on all of it. Now, I will let you all know tonight is sort of a long one. And while it may not be obviously like focused on Hansen, I think when you listen to the entire series, you will see exactly why we're covering what we're about to talk tonight, because it just really solidifies the ineptness of the investigators, of the system. So if you're like, where's all this route? Just trust the llama. Llama knows what she's doing. And don't worry, there will be lots of rants and cursey words again tonight. They're just going to be here for the whole thing.
It's going to be there all day. I mean, it's already been all day. I mean, we started it yesterday and it's still going.
It is, Lady in Gray. It is tragic how many times Hansen could have been stopped. And before we get into what we're drinking tonight, as I think we said when we were covering the Lost Women of Alaska documentary on Sunday, it's just, there's a lot of cases of serial killers where like they're never really on the radar of law enforcement. And then once they figure out who it is, they're like, oh my gosh, right? This is not one of those cases. They knew what kind of man he was. I don't even want to call him a man, but they knew so many times and so many women died. And it's infuriating. It's absolutely appalling. But before we get into that, Spetty, cursey words are my favorite.
Good, because there's lots of them.
Me too, babes. What are you drinking tonight?
So I am drinking a Tito's Dirty Martini. It's supposed to be 3 olives, but he only gave me 2, but that's okay. And I know you're all going, why in the hell is Terry drinking a martini on a Monday night? Well, it's because of Llama and Robert Hansen, and because Alaska sucks. And I need this to be able to deal with this Monday of Mondays and Robert Hansen.
Agreed. I also skipped the wine tonight. I know I just said it was part of our name of our show, but I went straight to liquor too, because that's been my day as well. Tonight I'm drinking Sveta vodka, which is very clean and maybe a little dangerous because it goes down very smooth. And then I've paired it with Simply Peach Juice. So it's one of my fave like summertime drinks, even though it's 26 degrees here.
Isn't it cold? I was like, that sounds so great to be by the pool.
Oh, yeah.
It's 26 degrees there.
Okay. I highly recommend it. Simply Peach Juice. So Kroger had a coupon, and I said, yes, please.
I like their Simply Watermelon Juice. You can only get it around 4th of July.
Oh, interesting.
Amy, it's 22 degrees there, too. How do y'all survive living in that kind of place?
We don't like it. We don't like it at all.
I mean, it is, let me see. I mean, I think our high was only 58 today. It's 49 degrees outside.
Oh, my. Well, with that, let's get into the story of tonight's case. Shall we?
I'm refusing.
You're refusing.
I'm refusing. No, guys. Okay, we're trying to make light of it because it's hard. So in our last episode, We stood at the edge of McHugh Creek and we looked at the tragic end of Beth Van Zanten. We saw how the system flinched, how it had a name, a face, and two survivors in Susan Hepburn and Patty Roberts. Yet they chose to look at the flower on a baker's hands instead of the darkness in his eyes.
Mm.
Robert Hansen didn't just walk away from 1971. Guys, he walked away with a newfound understanding of his own invisibility. It's
Now, by the time the calendar turned to 1972, the meek baker had already established his own morbid checklist. Target young, vulnerable women near the transit corridors of the city. Check. Use the brutal Alaskan elements to finish what he started. Check. Hide behind a stutter, a steady job, and a rehabilitated reputation. Check, check, and check. What a respectable man.
So tonight we enter 1972, another year of what we call the silent decade. It's a 10-year stretch where women vanished and the case files grew cold before the ink was even dry. They took their names and they were already cold. Tonight we're looking at two names that have haunted the Anchorage Police Department for over 50 years.
Now, first, we're going to go to the Green Dragon nightclub, where Shirley Ann Jonas stepped out into a February freeze and never came home. Then we'll navigate the end of summer disappearance of Zingre ZeZe Mason, a woman whose case was complicated by a rough suspect and a system that seemed far too eager to look at anyone except the man at the bakery. Oh my gosh. Makes me so mad already.
I know, like, get ready, guys. I can feel it bubbling up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We look past the static of the decades to find the truth behind the disappearances and murders of Shirley Ann Jonas and ZeZe Mason. Because while the police were looking for a neatly dressed, tall man and other rough men, maybe the real monster was helping carry in your groceries, baking your bread, and waiting for the sun to go down.
Can't wait to hear what you all think about these stories. So let's start with the first. So by February 1972, the shock of Beth Van Zanten's death had settled into the cold, hard soil of Anchorage's memory. The city wanted to move on, to believe the girl in the snow was a tragic anomaly. But the Alaskan winter wasn't finished with its secrets. On February 12th, the shadow returned.
Shirley Jonas was 18, a petite young woman with black hair and a life defined by service. She was the daughter of a Baptist missionaries and stepdaughter to Reverend Willie Johnson. Shirley was a student at Anchorage Community College, and she spent her summer laboring in the fish canneries of Eminock.
Sure. We try our best.
She was the kind of girl who felt safe in the community she helped build. But on Friday night at the Green Dragon nightclub, that safety evaporated.
Now, the Green Dragon was a staple of the Anchorage nightlife, a place of smoke, music, and transient energy of a pipeline-era city. Shirley had arrived with friends and relatives, but as the night wore on and the group thinned, she remained behind. At 3 a.m., as the club began to empty and people filed out into the sub-zero darkness, Shirley was seen walking out the door, but she wasn't alone.
Why is the club open at 3 a.m. is my first question.
What time do bars close in Texas? What do you mean?
2 o'clock.
Last call's at 2. They close at 2:30 here. And then there's after parties.
Last call's at 1:50. Can't sell liquor past that. So, yeah. Witnesses would later describe a man who seemed to belong to the clean-cut side of the 70s. A tall white male perhaps 6'2", neatly dressed in a yellow shirt, open at the collar. It was the 70s.
It was.
He had the bearing of a military man, a common sight in a town surrounded by bases. Besides him, Beside him, the 5'2" Shirley looked small, almost fragile. Sadly, it was the last time anyone would see her alive.
Yes, 7 hours later at 10:30 a.m., the sun struggled to crest the horizon. Dwayne Edward Parks pulled his truck into a yard at 110, I'm sorry, 110. 1110 East Northern Lights Boulevard. Does that road sound familiar yet, you guys? Because we hear it so much and we'll keep hearing it. And that was near the intersection with LaTouch Street to refuel. Now, as he stepped out into the biting air, he saw something that didn't belong along the heavy machinery and frozen gravel. A flash of skin against the gray snow.
It was Shirley. She was unconscious, wearing only a light blouse. The rest of her clothing, her pants, shoes, and underwear had been discarded nearby, scattered like trash in the wind. She was still breathing, her body locked in the final desperate stages of hypothermia.
Now she, this might sound familiar, had been bound. Her arms and legs were also marked with abrasions of a struggle, and the medical examiners would later find the telltale signs of sexual assault. The predator hadn't used a gun or a knife to end her life, though. He had simply used the city's most abundant weapon, the cold.
Shirley Jones died shortly after arriving at the hospital. For the Anchorage Police Department, the case was a nightmare of dead ends. They interviewed over 50 people, circulated a composite sketch of the tall man, and scoured the Green Dragon for leads. But the man in the yellow shirt had vanished.
Now, the similarities to the Beth Van Santen case 2 months earlier were impossible to ignore, at least for us. I don't know if they wanted to pay attention, but it's pretty freaking obvious. Yet the agency struggled to connect the dots. Both women were abducted near major transit corridors. Both were stripped and bound, and both were left in dump sites where the environment acted as the executioner.
Robert Hansen, a 5'9" man, didn't fit the tall male description provided by the Devil Dragon witnesses, but he did by the Green Dragon witnesses.
We saw his picture and we're like, devil.
Yeah, but he did live just over a mile from the truck yard where Shirley was found. He worked the early morning shift during the very streets where Shirley's clothes lay freezing in the dirt.
Now, what's interesting is he is described as tall numerous times during this entire story, which when I would not describe him as such.
But when you're 5'2" and you're smaller, yeah, you are. I get called tall all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm only 5'11".
Yeah, most of his victims were between 5'2" and 5'4", so like maybe everyone there were just like tiny people,
and they just seemed tall. I mean, the
guy 5'9" was just not. I wouldn't consider that to be a tall man. But also keep in mind that he knew there was a very good possibility at this point in his storyline that he was going to be locked up for an extended period of time because of the assaults on Susan Heppard and Patty Roberts from just a few months ago. So was there really anything to stop him from killing Shirley Jonas if he's the one that did it? No, he had absolutely a lot of motivation, and yet he had the means, motive, and opportunity, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, he did. And as winter turned into spring and then into summer, Shirley Jonas became another unsolved entry into the ledger of the silent decade. If the predator had killed Shirley, then once again, the law was looking for a giant while a baker was busy kneading dough.
Now, before we move on to the next one, I just want to say, sadly, that is all of the information that you can find about Shirley Jonas anywhere. Anywhere. That's it. That's
70s.
all anybody knows about that whole story. And she is not considered, she wasn't a victim that Hansen admitted to. As a matter of fact, all the women we've talked up to till now, he's never admitted to any of them. But I will say that if you ask me, she is literally everything about her, how she looked, her size, everything is exactly what we end up learning.
Mhm,
It's so textbook with him that, she could have easily left the bar with a tall man,
mhm,
okay? But
and then
maybe she encountered Robert, because guess what he did between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning? He was headed to work at his bakery, and he would admit that that's the time when he would cruise around looking for, you know,
well, we're gonna
women.
find later on
So,
that he doesn't admit to some others, and I'm gonna be honest, there's definitely direct proof in those that he was
mm,
involved. So, he ch he picked and chose who he wanted to
absolutely. But
admit
when I
to.
ran across Shirley Jonas, I was like, why is she never like, she's not talked about? And I'm like, ooh, but that like literally lines up with everything we know.
Mhm.
So I put her on the list of people I think he was in fact responsible for. So now, that is sadly the end of what we know about Shirley Jonas. But next up, by August 1972, so the last story was in February, we're in August. The legal system was patting itself on the back, if you remember, because that's right, he only served 6 months for the attempted kidnapping of Susan Hepburn, where his entire actual kidnapping, assault, and rape of Patty Roberts was dismissed as part of his plea deal.
Mhm.
Remember that. So, but they're like, oh, look at that. Robert's great. You know what? Let's take him out of prison and let's move him to a halfway house.
Mhm.
So, on paper, he was a model of progress, a man transitioning back into the rhythm of a productive life.
Sure, sir. But halfway houses offer a dangerous middle ground. Hansen had a job, he had scheduled check ins, but he also had dead time, unmonitored hours where he could slip into the city's underbelly. And perhaps he was learning how to navigate the strip while maintaining the veneer of a man under supervision. Yeah, nobody was watching him.
No. Now, also being transferred to a halfway house gives Hansen a sense of intellectual superiority. He had beaten the psychiatrist and the parole board. That's not up for debate. That
Mm-mm.
is literally what happened. How could he not come out of there being like, I'm
Mhm.
untouchable. I can do pretty much whatever. The system works for me, you know? So in his mind, he was smarter than the men guarding him. True.
Mhm.
And that kind of confidence is exactly what a predator needs to start hunting again.
ZeZe was a vibrant, athletic 20-year-old woman who stood 5'7" tall with long, curly brown hair. She was a graduate of Dunmond High School, a former student at Anchorage Community College, and the heart of a close knit family. Her brothers were away at a university in Oregon, and her 13-year-old sister, Tony, was left to face a reality no child should ever have to know.
She was a ground hostess for Japan Airlines and a woman who truly loved her job. She was responsible, punctual, and deeply connected to her family, which is why her mother, Charlene, who knew the moment ZeZe didn't show up for her shift at the international airport, that something was really wrong.
On August 22nd, 1972, the city of Anchorage lost another daughter to the shadows of the silent decade. ZeZe's disappearance began with a simple task of picking her car up from a repair shop. She left her home at 7255 Sand Lake Road, dressed in the fashion of the era. She had on turquoise bell-bottom pants, a red and brown sweater with a brown suede hooded jacket, and dark blue clogged shoes. I can so picture it.
I couldn't find a picture of them, but those turquoise bell-bottom pants, yes, please. Like I want turquoise pants so bad. Now, she intended to hitchhike across Diamond Boulevard to Lake Otis Parkway. And in 1972, hitchhiking was still a common mode of transportation in Alaska. But for a predator like Hansen, it was a buffet of targets delivered straight to the roadside. Now, ZeZe, though, never made it to the shop. She never picked up her car. She simply just vanished.
For nearly a week, the Mason family held on to a thin thread of hope. But on Monday, August 28th, that thread was severed by the most innocent of witnesses. In a detail that feels like a scene from a nightmare, ZeZe Mason wasn't found by a specialized search team of a canine unit. She was found by neighborhood children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. While playing in a gravel pit, sound familiar, guys? A gravel pit? Near the intersection of Sand Lake Road and Diamond Boulevard, just a short distance from where she had last been seen, the children stumbled upon the brunette ground hostess. She was no longer the vibrant 20-year-old in turquoise bell-bottoms. She was a grim marker in the tall grass of a vacant lot.
While the final results were closely guarded by the Alaska State Troopers, the preliminary findings painted a picture of a brutal personal struggle. ZeZe had suffered severe head wounds, meaning it was a close quarters assault that required a terrifying level of physical aggression.
Yeah. Now, the discovery sent a shockwave through the city. This was the third young woman under the age of 21 to be found dead or missing in just 9 months. The city was no longer just a place where people came to reinvent themselves. It was becoming a place where young women went to die.
The public saw a predator who seemed to prefer a specific type: brunettes in their late teens or early 20s, and a specific hunting ground. All three women had disappeared or been found along the southern corridor of the city, near the highways that led out into the vast, unpeeled wilderness. The press was quick to ask the question that was already terrifying the city. Was this related to Beth Van Zanten and Shirley Ann Jones? Was there a hunter in their midst?
I mean, how could you not be asking those questions?
Hindsight's 2020. I'm saying absolutely there was.
Right? Now, this put the Alaska State Troopers and the Anchorage Police in a very difficult position. Sergeant Walter Gilmore's refusal to comment on the links between the cases was meant to prevent a panic, which is normal, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it had the opposite effect, which is also normal.
Mm-hmm.
While ZeZe's family mourned a beautiful and vibrant daughter, and investigators remained tight-lipped, the community remained on edge.
Anchorage was a town built on thubbing rides. After ZeZe Mason vanished while trying to pick up her car, the cultural staple died a quick death. Mothers began driving their daughters everywhere, and young women stopped walking alone after dusk.
Now, there was also a growing feeling that the police were outgunned, you don't say.
That's right.
If a man could kill a woman in the city and dump her in a gravel pit or a mountain creek within 20 minutes, how could anyone be safe? And that's
Fair
a
question.
fair question.
Fair question.
The answer is they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
Spoilers for the next 50 years. They're not.
If the murders were at all related, then it wouldn't have been done by some drifter or military pipeline guy. It would mean that the predator is a local. And Hansen was the ultimate local. He was the man who sold you your morning rolls. He was the man who likely stood in the same grocery store lines as the families of these victims. That makes me sick to my stomach. Because he didn't fit the look of a savage killer, he was the one person the public's collective fear never touched.
Now, the troopers quickly realized that the gravel pit wasn't the site of the murder. Important to remember that, okay? But it was a dumping ground chosen for its seclusion. Investigators found a chilling trail of bloodstains and disturbed earth running from a set of tire tracks to where ZeZe lay. They believed she had been killed elsewhere and hauled to the pit, likely under the cover of darkness. That's their initial idea.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah. She was also missing her red and brown sweater, her suede jacket, her shoes, and her purse. The fact that she was found half clothed and sexually assaulted, it wasn't just a robbery gone wrong or some random act of violence. Guys, it was a crime of sexual dominance, a signature that was becoming disturbingly familiar in Anchorage.
Beth was that way. Shirley was that way. And now ZeZe's found that way. Now, while ZeZe had been missing for a week, Coroner Ronnie Bray believed she had been dead since the day she disappeared. Whoever had taken her hadn't kept her. He most likely ended her life almost immediately and then waited for the right moment to discard her.
The troopers also noted that the pit was so rugged, it would be accessible only by a four-wheel drive vehicle. Then they found the smoking gun in the dirt. A set
Quotations.
of yeah.
Just big quotations around this smoking gun for our listeners.
I'm sorry. I'm holding on to my whoopee. A set of distinctive tire tracks near the body.
Now, on a standard off-road tire, the knobby edges are designed to bite outward for grip, but on this specific vehicle, one of the tires had been mounted incorrectly, so the edges were biting inward. And the inward biting tire track was basically like a mechanical fingerprint. But while the troopers had the tire tracks, they didn't have the man or the vehicle. And then right before, it's so funny. They're like, it could only be a four-wheel drive car in Alaska. Like, does anyone have a non-four-wheel vehicle living in Alaska? That's crazy. As a northerner, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Now, when Dr. Donald R. Rogers performed the autopsy, he found evidence of a struggle that was both heartbreaking and terrifying. ZeZe Mason had not gone quietly. Dr. Rogers had found superficial cuts on the inside of her thumbs and her fingers, proof that she had reached out with her bare hands to grab the blade of her assailant's knife in a desperate attempt to stay alive. Oh.
That's right. ZeZe was a hell of a fighter.
She was.
She also sustained 8 stab wounds to her chest, back, and left arm. 3 were potentially fatal, but the killer didn't stop there. He also delivered multiple blows to her head with a blunt object, causing massive skull fractures.
The investigation was further marred by a public feud. Coroner Ronnie Bray was very upset by the troopers' decision to release grisly, unconfirmed details to the press before the family had been properly briefed.
No.
Alaska, you screwed up so many times here. With saying, one must have concern for the living as well as for the dead, she told the Daily News. And
Yeah,
she's
if you
so
can't
right.
think of more reasons to dislike the
Yeah.
investigators of Alaska, yeah, add that one to the list. Now, another one of the details that was propelling this massive rift was the report indicating that she had had sexual intercourse before death, but they could not confirm rape. And this clinical ambiguity,
Ambiguity?
ambiguity, yes, sorry, the vodka's working, was kind of, sorry, oof, all right. Anyway, it was kind of a slap in the face to the grieving family, and definitely a hole defense attorneys would later exploit, because why are we sharing these things initially with
Yeah.
the public when the family hasn't even been told that? That is
Mm-hmm.
wild to me, especially when, oh, I don't know, nothing said about Shirley Jonas anywhere. Or,
I don't understand what they were thinking. I don't
mm-mm.
know. While the authorities argued over paperwork and bad taste, the actual forensic timeline was becoming a mess. The troopers thought she died the night she vanished, but the pathologist thought she had only been dead 48 hours. This 5-day discrepancy was a large gap of time. Could the killer have held her? Maybe waited for the heat to die down before dumping her in the Sand Lake gravel pit? Or were one of them wrong?
I don't know, right? Like, how are we having
Yeah.
disagreements? Why are we going behind the coroner's back at this point in the game? Like, this is very
It's
peculiar.
sounds like a pissing contest to me, but that's
Mhm.
just me.
And remember, the coroner is a woman. Hmm.
Sorry,
Hmm.
I just saw that.
Hmm. Okay, where were we here? Sorry, I had scrolled up. I lost my spot. I'm sorry. Oh, there we are. Okay, thank you. Now, in a landscape defined by construction and gravel, the eyes of the working class became the eyes of the law. A truck driver hauling gravel became the anchor for the prosecution. Yeah, you guys heard that word correctly.
Mhm.
Prosecutions. Like, I think you might know where this story might be heading towards the end. Now, he said he was near Sand Lake Road. Again, that's right where ZeZe lived. When he saw a young woman matching ZeZe's description climb into a yellow or white, depending on the report. Yeah, that's right. Yellow or white, because those are close to being the same color in daylight.
Yeah.
Um, and that it was a yellow or white four-wheel drive pickup truck with two men.
Then just 30 minutes later, the driver returned for another load. The truck was still there, but it had moved to a more remote, secluded area of the gravel pit. This time, the driver only saw one man with the girl. The second man was gone.
Now, the quote break in the case didn't come from any forensics, but instead from a woman who called the troopers, identifying herself as the girlfriend of one of the men in the truck. Her message was basically, my boyfriend, Ralph Dennis Kiner, was there, but he totally didn't do it. It was the other guy. And that other guy was Gary Zeiger, a 19-year-old with a 1970s four-wheel drive white pickup.
When investigators tracked down the boyfriend, Ralph, his story was a mixture of nonchalance and negligence. He did confirm both his girlfriend and the truck driver's stories. He told them that he and Seeker had gone to the gravel pits for target practice. They had picked up a female hitchhiker, but to him, she was just some girl. They then left the pit with the girl sitting in the middle of the bench seat. Gary then dropped the friend off at a nearby fire station, then drove away with the girl in the cab.
Now, to the troopers, this was a closed circle. Bam!
Yep, done.
They had a witness, which apparently they chose to believe a woman in this scenario for once, a vehicle, and a last seen with the suspect confirmation. I'll just let you know, they have these same things in all of the other future cases. But apparently this one, they want to do something about it. Now,
they only believed because a man corroborated her story.
Pretty much, it sounds like. Now, yeah. And those smoking gun tire tracks, they believed, came from Gary's truck.
So while the system was ignoring the meek baker, it had found a different kind of monster in Gary Zingre. To the Alaska state troopers, Gary Zingre wasn't just a suspect. He was a well-known psychopathic force.
Now, born and raised in Anchorage, Gary was a man who seemed to embody the fast and hard era of the early 70s. He was a bright kid who had traded his potential for a life of drifting, construction work, and unbridled violence. Gary's not great, guys. He's not great.
He's not great.
Just preface. He's not great.
He's not great. He was a loner who ran with a dangerous crowd. A man who famously claimed the only time he ever wore a necktie was for his high school yearbook photo. Okay, Gary.
Weird flex, but okay.
By 1972, he was a ghost in the system with no permanent address, no steady job, and a reputation that preceded him no matter where he went.
Now, Sergeant Walter Gilmore's unpublished accounts reveal why the troopers were so certain Gary Zingre killed ZeZe Mason. A year earlier, in the summer of 1971, the body of a young Alaskan native boy was found in a secluded area of the Anchorage International Airport, and a trail of 22 shell casings stretched for 70 yards, indicating the boy had been running for his life while being hunted.
A man named James Howard Beatty eventually confessed, but it wasn't revealed until his sentencing that he said what had allegedly happened. He said that he and Gary had kidnapped the boy in Gary's truck, forced him to perform sexual acts, and then told him to run.
Now, Gary reportedly ran alongside the boy, firing a .22 pistol repeatedly until the child finally collapsed. Now, because a .22 is not a high caliber weapon, it took a whole lot of shots and a long, sadistic chase to end the boy's life. Now, this sounds like the work of a man who enjoyed the hunt. But also it should be noted that Gary was never charged with the murder of the young boy or anything related to it, which does pose some question for me in the truth of this story from Beatty. But also, it's Alaska. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
The link between Zingre and ZeZe Mason wasn't just his violent history. Beatty, while on work release for the airport murder, yes, guys, you heard that correct. He was on work release 6 months after being sentenced for the murder of a child.
Yeah.
Welcome to Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just great. Just what a magical
It's just
place.
Great. Now, had helped Gary mount snow tires on his truck. He vividly remembered one crucial detail. One of the tires had been mounted on the rim in an inverted fashion.
Now, when troopers found those same inverted tire tracks at the Sand Lake gravel pit where ZeZe was found, they didn't just see a lead. They saw a forensic signature that could link Gary to her murder. Now, to Gilmore and his team, the math was simple. Gary owned a 1970 four-wheel drive truck. Zingre had a history of allegedly kidnapping people in that truck and forcing them into sexual acts, if you believe Beatty. And Gary's truck had the inverted tires that matched the crime scene. So 1 + 1 + 1 obviously equals Gary Zingre. So
I know we don't math here, but Alaska's math is even worse than ours. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that here, okay?
mm-hmm.
The troopers were so fixated on Gary's inverted tire in the history of target practice, they never stopped to ask if there was another man in town who liked to kidnap and assault young women. I mean, a young native boy, I mean, not saying, but was Gary ZeZe Mason's real killer? Or was he just taking the heat for the Southside slayings when the real predator was safe in his halfway house?
I mean, at this point, it could be either or.
Could be. I mean, it's Alaska.
But they didn't even bother. They were just like, you know what?
It mathed for me.
Now, the arrest of Gary Zingre on September 2nd, 1972, felt like a definitive victory for the Alaska State Troopers. To the investigators, especially Sergeant Walter Gilmore, it wasn't just about ZeZe Mason. It was about off-ramping a known psychopath before he could claim another. How convenient.
How convenient, because he had never been convicted or charged or anything. Now, the state charged Zingre with a trio of crimes: first-degree murder, murder during rape, and murder during robbery. The last charge, though, was basically a catch-all because ZeZe's ring, wallet, and clothing were still missing.
Now, on paper, the case looked like it was built on a mountain of circumstantial evidence that all pointed to the 19-year-old construction worker. The troopers used a combination of old school eyewitness work and what was then cutting-edge forensic testing to build their case.
They had the gravel truck driver who had seen the girl in the truck twice in one afternoon, and he successfully picked Gary out of a police lineup. Troopers also obtained a search warrant for Zingre's 4x4. They found 3 small blood spots splashed across the interior dashboard. Gary's excuse? He'd been hunting wabbits.
I wasn't expecting you to. I didn't even see that coming, to be quite. It was right there the whole time.
Hunting wabbits. I thought you did that on purpose.
I didn't, no, but it's amazing.
But the lab disagreed. A precipitant test, a precursor to modern DNA work, came back positive for human blood.
Though, of course, the blood was part of the coroner versus trooper feud that was also going on. One trooper source claimed the blood on the dash matched ZeZe's type, while coroner Ronnie Bray remained cautious, stating the lab couldn't definitively make that link yet. It wasn't even possible to do at all. All they could do at the time was blood typing, which is barely, that's not going to do anything unless you have a super rare one.
Right. It helped us get to where we are today.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So
another trooper talking out its ass, apparently.
The knobby tire tracks found in the mud of the gravel pit where a pool of blood showed the body had been dragged were said to be a perfect match for Zingre's truck. Troopers even located a secluded spot near a creek where they believed Gary had attempted to scrub the truck clean. The mud at the creek bank bore the same weird inverted tire tracks.
I'll save my thoughts for later. about all of this forensics.
Well,
Okay,
I
that's
can
not good.
just tell you this, there was a case in 2004 in Alaska, did the
Yep.
same thing with tires. They said this guy's truck, because he had one tire different than the other 3,
Yeah.
and their crime scene had one tire different, the same tire on his truck was different, and so they arrested him. Turned out it wasn't him.
Oh my gosh. So literally, that's in the 2000s, and
They
this
didn't
takes
learn
place in
anything.
1972.
Yeah, still didn't learn anything.
Nope. Sorry to residents of Alaska. We like you, but we got some opinions about
Your
Alaska's
police force got some
system.
explaining to do.
Now, Sergeant Gilmore later admitted that despite the slightly different MO, he had a strong feeling Gary Zeiger was also responsible for the death of Beth Van Zanten. Remember, that's the same guy who had that strong feeling about cousin Greg in
Mhm.
Beth Van Zanten's case that led to nothing. And he's also helped co-write Butcher and the Baker. And I do not have strong opinions on Sergeant Walter Gilmore at all. So, anyway, but that's neither here nor there. Now, in the eyes of the law, they had found their singular monster. They believed that by locking up Zeiger, they were solving the Southside slings in one fell swoop. Well, isn't that just convenient for them, you guys?
They were
Oh
like,
my
check,
gosh.
dinner dress.
Bravo, guys, right?
Yeah.
Bravo, maybe?
Though, guys, if Gary was responsible for the murder of ZeZe, the troopers were so focused on Ziegler's vicious profile, they didn't see the discrepancies between the crimes. Gary was loud, impulsive, and messy. He left witnesses at the scene and blood on his dashboard.
Now, Robert Hansen had also been hunting rabbits, quote unquote, in 1972. He also drove a 4-wheel drive vehicle. He also visited gravel pits for target practice and would be known to drop victims at gravel pits. He had just gotten out of prison in a halfway house, but unlike Zeiger, Hansen knew how to clean a dashboard. He knew how to hide trophies where they wouldn't be found in a routine search. He was a little bit more experienced.
Well, Gary was 19.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as the city celebrated the arrest of Gary Zeiger, was the true predator of the silent decade, learning his most valuable lesson yet. To let the loud monsters take the fall while you perfect the art of the ghost.
And think about it. Shirley Jonas goes missing. He then is sent to prison for 6 months. He gets out. Literally a week or 2 later, we have another missing young dead girl. What are the odds of that? That's so wild. Now, by the end of 1972, Gary Zeiger had become the face of the South Side slayings, sitting behind bars for months while the city of Anchorage finally felt a cold sense of relief. But inside the courtroom, the airtight case built by the troopers was beginning to show its first microscopic cracks.
Despite repeated attempts to lower his bail, the courts remained unmoved. The state's attorney was blunt. There was more than probable cause to keep Zeiger off the streets in the eyes of the prosecution. Zeiger wasn't just a suspect. He was a clear and present danger to every woman in the Anchorage Bowl.
Oh, look at them being concerned about women. Oh, wait, I almost forgot which story we're covering.
I'm like, what, do you remember where we're at?
This guy, and listen, I'm not here to say whether or not he did, but all I'm saying is that Hansen was literally found assaulting and kidnapping a woman, and he got his own recognizance twice within
Twice.
weeks.
And how
And
was
then a
he
girl ended
not
up dead 2
how
days
was he
later
not a clear and present danger?
to random women. I don't understand. Now, Alaska. Now, the $75,000 bond, which is equivalent to nearly $550,000 today, was a legal anchor designed to keep a stone cold psychopath exactly where the troopers wanted him. And honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. I think Gary was a scapegoat for them to be like, nope, we're not doofuses about things. Nope, we can solve things. And look at this kid who's a kid.
Not saying Gary was a good guy.
No, he's not a good guy, friends. He's not. But it's so like, who are they fooling here? I'm sorry, but like, what? And how is he going to be the face of this? And yeah, it's nothing about him pops up when it comes to Beth Van Zandt or Shirley Jonas.
Right. So Gary Zeiger's lawyer, assistant public defender John Larson, began a systematic dismantling of the state's narrative. He didn't just ask for a lower bail. He asked for Gary's release on his own recognizance, arguing that the state was holding a man on nothing more than weak and circumstantial evidence.
Sorry, I just found out it was snowing. My dogs
Joel's weather's crazy.
Covered with snow. They were only outside for like a few minutes. Now, Larson's strategy focused on a get about it. And then I'm like, where's that coming from? Now, Larson's strategy focused on a single, powerful, and not too uncommon theme. I mean, it worked for other people. The rush to judgment. Oh boy, do they like rushing to judgment on lots of things. Now, he argued that with 3 young women dead or missing in 9 months, the troopers were feeling the public pressure and desperate for a win. They needed a monster to show the public, and Gary Zeiger, with his hard reputation and his 4x4, fit the profile perfectly. I mean,
I just want to know how many other 4x4s are white or yellow in Alaska, because I'm thinking there's a lot.
Yeah, it's the 70s.
My dad had a yellow 4x4 Bronco in the 70s.
Well, they couldn't even decide if it's white or if it's yellow.
Yeah.
Which, again, very different colors.
Larson also pointed out that having inverted tires or being seen near a gravel pit was not proof of murder. In a town full of 4-wheel drives and target shooters, these were commonalities, not a smoking gun. And while the state touted the human blood on the dashboard, the defense noted the lack of a definitive type match to ZeZe Mason. Without that link, the blood could have been literally from anyone, including Gary Zeiger himself.
Yeah.
I paid. Yeah. As Larson chipped away at the evidence, the real danger of the Zingre arrest became clear. By focusing so intensely on one vicious suspect, the authorities were creating a blind spot.
Yeah. Now, Robert Hansen was no stranger to the legal system at this point. He understood how a good lawyer can exploit a fine point in sentencing or evidence. We heard about it and got pissed about it, as everyone should have been. Now, he could have been watching the state pour all of its resources into Gary Zeiger. For a man like Hansen, the Zeiger trial could have been a tutorial. He saw exactly what the police looked for, like in the tire tracks, blood spatter, and eyewitnesses at the scene. He could learn that if he could eliminate those 3 variables, he could probably kill forever.
That's right.
Let alone with all the other crazy shit he's learned that, that's all right. He can literally do whatever he wants. They don't care. You get out in 6 months. It's fine.
Our legal system has given him one hell of an education on how to get away with murder, literally. As the trial of Gary Zeiger approached, The airtight case the state and the Alaskan state troopers had touted began to look more like a shifting mosaic of theories and late night revisions.
My
Not
trial watching friends. Prepare yourselves, okay? And then you'll just be like, okay, yeah, this is crazy. All right. So the state's core theory was pretty simple. Gary Zeiger and his friend, Ralph Dennis Kiner, picked up ZeZe Mason as she hitchhiked. Gary dropped Kiner at a fire station for some reason, then returned to the gravel pit alone with ZeZe to kill her because that makes sense. But as the trial date loomed, the facts began to migrate a little. Isn't that cute?
Yeah. Their linchpin was Haram Matthews, the gravel truck driver who saw the pickup truck leave with 3 people and return with 2, was the only thing tying Zeiger to the crime scene in real time.
Now, perhaps the most disturbing shift came from the medical examiner, Dr. Donald Roger, who, by the way, his initials, it was often Dr. D.R. Rogers. So it was like Dr. Rogers, which was great. I didn't write it like that way in here, but it was like that all over everything. And I was like, oh my God, that is so funny. Now, his original report estimated ZeZe had been dead only 48 hours before being found, a timeline that would have actually exonerated Zeiger.
In a series of handwritten additions signed with DRR, the doctor changed his minds on a few other things. Citing the 60-degree Alaskan days, he pushed the time of death back to August 22nd. He also reversed the theory that she was killed elsewhere. After a revisit to the pit, he noted a large amount of blood soaked into the sand, concluding she likely died where she was found.
And I just wanted to know, Dr. Rogers was not a young man. He's a very experienced individual.
He was well seasoned.
So to kind of this take backsies it's interesting, and I'm skeptical. Now, by September 8th, 1972, a total hush descended on the case. All parties were barred from speaking to the media, leading to a vacuum filled by whispers of a cover-up on one side and secret evidence on the other. You don't say. Oh my gosh.
The Daily News private investigation hinted at a major surprise in their paper. One of the biggest was the quiet retreat from the rape and robbery charges. Despite the initial vicious assault headlines, the state was no longer sure they could prove a motive. They were left with a first-degree murder charge that was built almost entirely on the testimony of a truck driver and a set of inverted tire tracks.
Then there were the troopers who had to reconcile a glaring inconsistency. Their earlier report that ZeZe had been seen in the Lake Otis Tudor Road area after she supposedly got into Zeiger's truck. If she was seen alive elsewhere, the state's entire theory of her being with Gary Zeiger until her death would collapse. Basically, guys, they don't have shit. Okay. And so far, the state and the investigators and everybody seems to have changed their minds significantly. That it should be very questionable. You all should be questioning this. This is not normal. Now, the focus of the Alaska legal system shifted 250 miles southwest of Anchorage to the rugged, wind-sweeping fishing town of Kodiak. In a dramatic move to escape the suffocating trial by media in the mainland, Superior Court Judge C.J. Ochipinto granted a change of venue. These court drawings are hilarious.
But I have to say, can you imagine what they would call the trial by media today
Oh.
if they thought that's what it was back then?
Mm-hmm.
Think of it now. The city of 3,000 was turned upside down. Hotels were packed with lawyers, state troopers, and witnesses. A district attorney, W.H. Mackey, arrived with crates of evidence, 700 pounds worth of maps, forensic, and yes, guys, those big ass famous inverted tires made the trip.
700 pounds of evidence. Now, the move to the second floor of the Kodiak State Office building was a strategic victory for defense attorney John Larson. He has successfully argued that the South Side slayings had become so ingrained in the Anchorage psyche that finding 12 impartial jurors was a mathematical impossibility. And I'll be honest, he's probably not wrong. Maybe because, they went to the press about a lot of stuff in the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
Kodiak was a town of skeptics. I like them already. While Anchorage whispered about cover-ups and serial killers, the local fishermen tend not believe things until they saw them. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
And Larson was ready to play on the local Kodiak skepticism. He wasn't just defending a man. He was defending a drifter against a system under immense pressure to provide an answer to a terrified public.
Now, in the quiet atmosphere of Kodiak, the gears of justice began to turn with surprising speed. What many expected to be a grueling, days-long ordeal of jury selection was complete in just 5 hours. By Tuesday morning, 12 Kodiak residents, 8 men and 4 women, stood to be sworn in, tasked with deciding the fate of a man the state labeled a stone-cold psychopath.
That was faster than the jury instructions or the jury selection for when I got picked for a civil trial.
Yeah, that's real fast.
Like,
for a murder trial is wild.
Wow, that's fast.
But 250 miles away in the 70s, I mean, they probably don't know.
Yeah. The final jury reflected the diverse blue-collar backbone of the fishing town. It wasn't a group of legal experts or career bureaucrats, but a cross-section of Alaskan life. There was a school principal, a bartender, a fisherman, construction workers, and housewives. A panel that, according to local sentiment, wouldn't believe anything unless they saw the proof with their own eyes.
Now, Prosecutor Mackey had grilled the prospective jurors on their exposure to the sensational Anchorage headlines. While some had read the accounts, the Kodiak wall held firm, and none felt influenced by the mainland's media circus. To them, Gary Zingre was just a man in a courtroom, not the monster from the papers.
Now, defense attorney John Larson wasted no time setting the tone. During questioning, he leaned heavily on the presumption of innocence and the heavy burden of proof placed on the state. He wanted this jury to understand that circumstantial, guys, wasn't enough, especially in a town that valued hard evidence over rumors.
And in a surprising move, just before adjournment of the day, the defense withdrew its motion to sequester the jury, which is a big deal. Larson was betting that these 12 people could go home to their families and still maintain the mental distance required to see the cracks he intended to show them.
That to me is just shocking.
That is very surprising.
The most shocking moment of the jury selection process came when Prosecutor Mackey mentioned a potential witness, James Howard Beatty.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. To the investigators, Beatty was the key to proving Ziger's predatory nature. Yep, that guy from the 1971 airport murder who confessed that he and Ziger had hunted a young boy for sport. That sweet little charmer. By bringing Beatty's name into the room, the state was signaling its intent to use Ziger's dark past to light up the ZeZe Mason case.
Listen, it is never a good case if you have to rely on that kind of person as your star witness.
Sure.
Just by the way,
Listen, we're
not a trial watcher. Trust me, it's not good.
Not saying Ziger's a good guy. I am by no means saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying Beatty is not somebody I wouldn't risk everything on.
No, not at all.
Not me.
Now, the day of testimony in Kodiak moved into a slow motion tension. After the jury was sworn in that morning, the legal teams laid out two very different versions of what happened in the Anchorage gravel pit.
Prosecutor Mackey was surprisingly candid with the jury, admitting from the jump that the state's case would be virtually, completely circumstantial. He warned the panel that the evidence would arrive like scattered puzzle pieces and that some of which would have no meaning until much later in the trial.
In my experience, that is not a good opening statement, sir.
I know, I'm like...
I didn't have to hear the whole thing, but that was the highlights. It's not great. It's not a strong opening. Now, defense attorney John Larson conceded that Gary Ziger did give ZeZe Mason a ride, but he claimed that Gary dropped her off shortly after and was occupied with other matters for the rest of the afternoon. Larson promised the jurors to show that the troopers had ignored inconsistencies in their rush to pin the vicious and brutal attack on his client.
Everybody just remember, two things can be true at the same time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. The afternoon was filled with the voices of those who knew ZeZe best. Her ex-boyfriend, Donald B. Sutter, her current boyfriend, Timothy Gadsby, and her mother, Charlene Mason. All of them took the stand, but they didn't speak of a murder. They spoke of life. They spoke of ZeZe's life.
Then the jury heard the breakdown of ZeZe's alleged final 24 hours. ZeZe had spent time with her ex-boyfriend, then went to dinner with her current boyfriend, Tim, and finally returned home at 4:30 a.m. on August 22nd. She went to work, came home, and then set out to hitchhike to Gadsby's house to pick up her car. And that was the last time her family ever saw her alive again.
In a heartbreaking turn, ZeZe's mother and sister testified to her high standards of personal hygiene. This was used to contrast the state of her body when found, suggesting she had been held or treated in a way that stripped her of her dignity before her death.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was supposed to mean when I read it, but I was just like, why is that?
I know. I'm
like what? What was that? Trust me, I've looked everywhere for some of these answers. Unfortunately, we don't have the transcripts of this trial, which I want very badly. But it was a very important point that was being made, but I did not come across why they really wanted to make that point. Like, what must have happened? Either my brain refuses to try to put it together or I just can't put it together. I don't know, but
I have thoughts and I don't like where any of them go. So
yeah. Now, while the first day focused on ZeZe's movements, the state announced that their first major witness would be Dr. Donald R. Rogers, or Dr. Rogers, the pathologist whose handwritten additions, had already caused quite the stir in the pre-trial phase.
His typewriter was out of ribbon, okay? Give him a break.
Well, I don't know about that. We need to
I
go fix some notes for law enforcement.
I know. I was trying to be yeah, he was fixing shit. Prosecutor Mackey had promised the jury that Dr. Rogers would address the controversial changes to the time and place of the death. It was certainly a high stakes gamble because if Dr. Rogers couldn't convince the jury why his first estimate was wrong, the state's entire timeline of Zeiger's killing ZeZe on the afternoon of August 22nd might collapse before the first 2 days of the trial was over.
Yeah, just wild. It's just like,
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Rogers began by talking about the Alaskan August climate. He argued that the cooler Alaskan nights between August 22nd and 28th had preserved the body, leading to his initial underestimation. He stated that he firmly believed that she had been dead for 5 to 6 days. Now, I just want to preface here. Yes, it is that cold in Alaska in August. But, sir, you have been in Alaska for how long?
Yeah.
And that just like popped in. Well, it was kind of cold that week in Alaska. So let me change my things after they took me out to the scene again after.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Dr. Rogers then described a vicious end to ZeZe's life. She had suffered 12 separate wounds, including deep stabs and blunt force scalp lacerations. In a detail that later would fascinate students of the Butcher Baker case, Rogers noted that the cuts appeared to have been made by a knife that was sharpened on both edges, a hunter's tool.
Which, again, though, everybody in Alaska is carrying knives, and not everybody's a hunter, but like there's some serious wildlife out there that you probably just should carry something.
Double H carries one, and I carry one in my purse. So.
And you don't have bears.
I know.
Like they got.
Well, I have a Mr. Bear, but he's a dog.
We have a Mr. Bear, yeah. But no, they got like grizzlies and black bears and moose and shit.
They got big animals.
Right? Now, in one of the trial's most surreal sequences, an extraordinary amount of time was spent discussing sunflower seeds. The cleanliness in the sunflower seeds I have just been stuck on. Now, the prosecution was trying to establish a biological timeline. If ZeZe had eaten sunflower seeds, shortly before being picked up, and those seeds were found in her system during the autopsy, it would pin her death to a very specific window of time. And the window when she was allegedly in Gary Zeiger's Chevy pickup. But I was not able to find the doctor's full testimony about where the sunflower seeds were, especially in her gastrointestinal tract at the time of her death, or if she was actually seen eating the sunflower seeds before she disappeared. Because one, that would be important, is that somebody was like, yeah, I saw her eating them. Because if you didn't, it doesn't matter. I think it's very important to this theory of when it occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because you guys know me so well, here's a brief Llama learns about sunflower seeds. So sunflower seeds generally take about 2 hours to leave the stomach and enter the small intestine. As high-fat seeds, they are broken down relatively quickly during the gastric emptying process. However, the total digestive time from mouth to colon can take much longer, with seeds often appearing in waste in 24 to 28 hours later. So there's some interesting digestive math for you to do. I need to know more about these sunflower seeds.
Was she just known to carry sunflower seeds?
Right.
Did she like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go hitchhike over to so-and-so's house, and I'm gonna nibble on some seeds while I go there.
Exactly. Like what is the relevance in, like, I understand, like, depending where they're found in her is a
Right.
good idea of the
But
time between time of death and
how
all of that.
where did sunflower seeds even come from?
But yeah, like, were they like, oh yeah, she was mound down and before she left the house? I don't know.
Maybe it's like this. If I ever hear you went missing from your home during a live court stream, I could probably say she was eating those gummy nerd things.
Oh no, I haven't even told you about my new favorite snack.
Oh,
Hold on.
okay.
No,
See,
no.
now that would
These
throw my
are,
whole theory.
I haven't got to announce to everyone my new favorite snack. Elbafy got them for me the other day, and I took one, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And I handed him one. I was like, "This is about to be the best thing ever." And he
Okay.
put it, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
I need
So
to know.
they are caramel pop
Caramel.
M&Ms.
Those are
Girl,
fabulous. Those I'm on board
girl.
with. I do not like your gummy nerd things,
I know you
but
don't,
the
but
M&M caramel pops are to die for. But let me tell you, there's a problem with them.
what's that? I can only have a few.
Holly, they are highly addictive.
They are,
They
but they're
are
also
like
very
crack.
rich. They're so good, you guys.
But
Like, I will never eat any other kind of M&M. Other M&Ms, garbage. And I
yeah,
love
if
M&Ms.
you can eat more than 3, you are better than me.
You mean
2,
less than 3 or?
I can eat 2, but they're rich. They're
They are.
so 2 and
They're so good, you guys. Anyway, sidetrack.
sidetrack. Sorry, we needed it.
I
So
love snacks, if you know
Sergeant,
me.
but no, that was what I was thinking about the sunflower seeds. Did somebody just
Mhm.
assume she was eating them?
Yeah, listen, the prosecution spent a lot of time talking about these sunflower seeds, but I don't know the
The reason.
purpose of
Okay.
them. So,
Okay. Sergeant Walter Gilmore took the stand. A sweater and a wide brimmed leather hat were introduced, which during cross the defense poked at these. Was she wearing them when she vanished? How did they stay in such good condition as if she was viciously assaulted in a gravel pit?
very interesting.
All fair questions.
And in case you're wondering, that is all I found about Sergeant Walter Gilmore's testimony on the entire trial. That's it. Those
I
things. That's it.
bet you, knowing the clusterfuck that Alaska is, the shit is sealed. It will never
Well,
see the light of day.
and this was all of this trial came from newspapers.com, like all from the newspapers
They're not
of
letting
that
those
year.
transcripts out. If they
But
even had a court reporter. Did
I was
they
like,
do that back in the 70s? I don't know.
yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure. But that's it for just a lead investigator. That's weird, guys. That's weird. Now, next, we're 2 experts from Alice Medical Laboratories. Dr. Lewis Nauman and Charles King took the stand. Now, they had meticulously inspected Gary Zeiger's truck in early September 1972, while the prosecution hoped for a definitive link to ZeZe Mason. The scientific reality was far more ambiguous.
Is anyone surprised?
And yet,
Dr. Nauman testified to finding a number of spots that appeared to be blood. However, he admitted he could not determine the blood type, the sex of the donor, or even how long the blood had been there, only that one specimen was likely less than a year old.
wow.
Well, could you not give the blood type?
Nope. Nothing. 2 expert witnesses for that.
Why did they call? How is that an expert?
I don't know.
What is he
Yeah.
testifying to? I can't tell you anything.
Yeah, that's literally what. Yeah.
But why would the prosecution call that person?
I don't know. Now, Charles King, the other guy, found blood on the passenger side armrest, the kick panel, and window. Yet, of all those samples, only one single spot, about the size of a dime, was definitively established as human blood. That's it.
That's it. Okay.
of a vicious assault. Remember that.
I mean, it was vicious. Yeah.
Vicious assault.
The lab has used a precipitant test to confirm if the blood was human. Defense attorney Larry Kullick managed to get the experts to admit that this test isn't exclusively human.
This is so funny, though.
It returns positive results for humans and other living organism.
No, one
other living organism, the orangutan. So I knew that about the orangutan.
Orangutan. No, I know. I was taught orangutan too.
It's and orangutan.
Then there's no G.
That's how you say it.
I don't think
Just
so.
like my maiden name sounds like it starts with an A and it doesn't.
I know. I say orangutan all the time.
It's orangutan.
I know. Now, the defense team played a brilliant tactical game here.
Amy, no.
Where's our English is hard. Now, by highlighting that the blood could technically belong to a high primate, they injected a hint of absurdity into the proceedings, and they left the jury with the impression that the science was fallible and the findings were too minuscule to support a first-degree murder conviction. The orangutan, that is not my problem with everything else. It was, it tells us nothing. Literally nothing.
It tells us nothing, but while the likelihood of an orangutan being in a pickup truck in Alaska, I don't know why they're saying it's 0.
It's a wild place. Why not?
The legal doubt was what mattered. Guys, just a little break off here. They just caught a woman in Austin, Texas, who had a lion living in an apartment.
What?
She somehow smuggled it and brought it over from.
Is it a full-ass grown lion?
It was now. It wasn't when she brought it.
In an apartment?
In an apartment. I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say it must be one of those big bougie apartments that was really big. Because I'm like, how did it not eat her? But yeah, I will find the article. I will put it on the Discord. I'll even drop it because I was like, what? This was this is right down the road? Texas. It got out.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely send me that article.
So there could be an orangutan in Alaska.
There's crazy shit going on in Alaska. Why not?
I mean, if the state couldn't prove the blood belonged to ZeZe, it was just a spot of biological material on a construction worker's dashboard. Guys, he's a construction worker. Do you know how many bumps, bruises, scrapes, bleeding they do in their vehicles?
Yeah, it literally means nothing.
I'm like, basically, they just told us nothing. It'd be like saying, we found a drop of wine on Terry's desk.
Okay, and
is it wine?
Or
is it grape juice?
Now, the prosecution was beyond frustrated, say. They felt that they had the blood in the right place, the passenger side, and in the right vehicle, but that the science of 1972 couldn't bridge the gap to the victim. And that's barely one of their problems. They had thought they had a win since Zingre had claimed he was hunting rabbits. They thought that the precipitant test was successfully debunk the rabbit blood alibi, but the defense successfully reframed the human blood as an unidentifiable, inconclusive smudge. They couldn't tell how recent it was. It literally could come from anybody, from anywhere, at any point in time.
It was not,
nothing
the fact that the prosecution thought that was an expert to put on the stand just baffles me. I'm just like, what were you thinking? Did they go to law school?
The ineptness
in Alaska.
The ineptness at every level is, now again, this is 1970. The science just simply isn't there.
It wasn't there.
Let's be honest here. But to sit there and make it sound to the press and everyone else like, oh, this is, going to send somebody to prison is wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Up next was Michael Beavers, Gary Zeiger and Ralph Kiner's boss. The guy who was supposedly with Gary when they picked up some girl hitchhiking.
Remember that?
And his testimony was rapidly becoming a liability.
The prosecution had a signed police statement from Beavers about a month after ZeZe's murder, where he claimed that he heard that Gary had been washing his truck in Campbell Creek on the very day ZeZe vanished. Remember those tire tracks and this whole theory about that? And he had claimed he heard that from Keith himself, the friend that was with him, who goes by Ralph or Keith or whatever. Now, on the stand, Beaver's certainty about the conversation evaporated. He admitted he signed the statement, but told the jury it might not have been the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, side note, this is not in here. Amos brought this to my attention today, which is interesting because she sent me a picture of this guy. She said, "Did you know this?" And I said, "No, I didn't." But I had actually read the article she sent me of this guy because I remembered his shirt and everything. I was like, "Oh, he's kind of cute." But as I was looking at one of the other later on victims, like I just saw this not that long ago. And this guy had like disappeared. All right. He too went missing. All right. He was going to like a business trip thing and just disappeared. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But then I was like, no, Llama, we are in too many rabbit holes. It has nothing to do with any of this. Get back to your research.
If he's still missing, send it to me for midday missing.
Well, you know what's crazy is Amos is like, she sent me that. She was like, did you know that's the Beavers guy from the trial? And I was like, oh, I didn't even put it together. Yes, this guy ends up going missing too. Dude, this story and everybody that's involved everywhere is so crazy. I could literally do like a 3-month show about everything. That is so crazy.
No, yes. I'm going to just tell you, I cannot.
They did recover him? I didn't read far enough to see if they found him or not. But there was a big thing in the paper.
A month in Alaska is enough for me. I am willing, if people want to send us funds, for us to go to Alaska to help find people.
Oh, genealogy DNA in 1985. Okay, so they did.
Was he murdered?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God, Alaska is wild. Anyway, let me get back to it.
I was going to say, because it all happened like current day in the part of the story I'm on. But yeah, isn't that crazy? And you want to know what his middle name is? What's his name? Michael Allison Beavers. Sorry. I was like, what? But I didn't connect the two at all. But I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's him. Okay.
Yes.
Ralph Kiner's testimony was either going to lock the handcuffs on Zingre or allows him to breathe fresh air. Exactly.
I know I'm the worst.
He was a double-edged sword for the state of Alaska. While the prosecution viewed him as an accomplice trying to minimize his role, they believed he could place Gary in the exact vehicle at the exact time and place ZeZe vanished. But guys, not so much.
Their witnesses are also bad. Now, Kiner testified that he and Gary did pick up a young woman while they were near the gravel pits on August 22nd. But when shown photographs of ZeZe Mason, Kiner told the jury he did not recognize her as the woman in the truck. And to the jury, this suggested a phantom hitchhiker. Because if it wasn't ZeZe in the truck, then the state's entire timeline and their primary witness, the truck driver, was looking at the wrong girl. So here we have their more star witness being like, I don't even know if that's the girl. I don't think it is.
A lot of people hitchhike back then. It was a thing.
And a lot of women up there have dark hair.
And a lot of women. Oh my God.
This is just not doing good.
Kiner then provided Gary with a partial alibi that the prosecution struggled to dismantle. He testified that the three of them drove together to a fire station on Jewel Lake Road, where Gary dropped him off and continued on with the woman. This created a bit of a black hole and allowed the defense to argue that Gary could have dropped the mystery girl off safely a few blocks later and gone about his day, just as many other hopeful motorists might.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
if
it's
the
not
guy who was there when you picked her up doesn't recognize her.
because remember, it was his girlfriend that called the cops, not him. And then he was like, we picked up somebody.
I don't think they're still together. I don't think they lasted much longer.
No. Now, the most heated part of his testimony involved the alleged truck washing incident. The troopers believed Zingre had rushed to a creek to scrub away ZeZe's blood. However, when Kiner was asked if he saw Gary washing his truck in Campbell Creek, he was very adamant that the answer was no, which would say his boss is a liar, who then admitted, well, it might not have been truthful what I told the police.
He denied ever telling his boss, Mr. Michael Allison Beavers, about such an event. I'm sorry, Mr. Allison Beavers, you need the whole name. I'm a Southern girl. Which snuffed out the prosecution's attempt to show consciousness of guilt. If there was no witness to the truck being washed, there was no proof that Zingre was trying to hide a crime. I hear an explosion just happening in my head.
This is not good. This is not looking good.
It's almost like that if the glove does not fit, you must acquit. I'm kind of hearing the same kind of.
I mean, could you imagine? Like,
I bet the prosecutor is sharting his pants.
Okay, so then the jury heard from Hiram Matthews, the gravel truck driver. Now, his testimony was the only thing placing ZeZe in Zingre's vehicle. At 1 p.m. on August 22nd, he said he saw a young woman hitchhiking on Sand Lake Road. At 1:20 p.m., he saw her getting into a pickup truck, sitting between the driver and the passenger. Okay? They're taking off, apparently. Then at 4 p.m., several hours later, well past the 30 minutes that was initially reported, he saw the same truck in the remote back area of the gravel pit, the exact area ZeZe's body would later be discovered. So now the timeline's not great for them.
Under the pressure of cross-examination, however, Matthews admitted he could not be sure there were still two people in the truck at 4 p.m. To the defense, this small crack allowed their theory that Gary had already dropped her off safely to breathe. Their whole case is imploded.
It's not great. It's not great.
But it is Alaska. Anything could happen.
Now, the prosecution then brought in a heavy hitter. Special Agent Donald Stengel of the FBI Crime Laboratory. That's right. They're like, all right, let's get the FBI guy in here. Somebody has to have something, right? Well, Stengel confirmed what the troopers had long suspected, that the plaster cast from the gravel pit of the tires had the same tread design as the tires on Gary Zingre's truck.
But then came the blow to the state's case. Stengel testified that he could not say the tracks were definitively made by those specific tires. In the world of forensics, similar is not certain.
It's not great. It's not great. When the rest of your case is a bunch of hubbubaloo, ooh, that's not going to be It's not going to be
It's not
enough.
great.
Now, after 5 days and 26 witnesses and a staggering 105 exhibits, ADA Mackey rested his case. Now, the sheer volume of the state's evidence was designed to overwhelm any single point of doubt. Overwhelm, I don't know about that. Now, Mackey didn't have a confession or even a murder weapon, so he relied on a weighted strategy. So, okay.
I have a question since you're the
Sure.
trial expert.
Mhm.
Is weighted strategy the same as what we say in the business world? If you throw enough shit up, something will stick?
Yes.
Okay.
In
Just
my interpretation.
Okay.
And
Because in my mind, I'm going, yeah, what is
you remember his opening. Well, it'll all come together.
it'll all come together?
No, that's literally just throwing. If you had to say, you'll wait and see. And don't, I guess I kind of do that a lot with
I was
stories. I'm like,
Llama, you do it all the time,
But
but
you know
you
what I
bring
do?
the receipts.
I deliver. I bring
You
the
deliver.
receipts and
He
I
doesn't
deliver. He doesn't deliver. No.
He was just hoping they would all stick on top of each other and just make a pile.
Yeah. And a lot of trials are circumstantial
They
evidence.
are.
And there's
But
nothing wrong with that. But this circumstantial evidence is all hot garbage.
but the circumstantial evidence isn't even evidence. It is all
No.
speculation.
Like actual speculate. It's not great.
Yeah. The most damning physical evidence remained the tires. The state proved that Zeiger's truck had 3 tires with directional tread mounted backward, a mounting pattern that perfectly matched the tracks found at the gravel pit.
Perfectly is not what the FBI agent said, by the way.
Troopers had testified that blood spots and drag marks were found as close as 2.5 feet from the specific tracks. To the state, this math was simple, guys. Gary's truck had sat exactly where ZeZe's life had ended.
But the state was playing a zero-sum game here because there was no plea for insanity or self-defense. Gary Zeiger was either a stone-cold killer or he was entirely innocent. Mackey had built a labyrinth of circumstances, but as the prosecution stepped back, the jury was left to decide if that labyrinth led to a murderer or simply a reckless young man in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because he admitted he was there, but that doesn't mean you're there at the same time.
Right.
You can't say those tire tracks were made at that time.
And
you can't do any of that.
That 2 people were in the truck when he came back because maybe he dropped her off after he dropped the person.
Not great.
As the state rested, John Larson's defense strategy became crystal clear. He intended to turn the prosecution's coinkydinks, which is also coincidence, into commonality. Witnesses testified that Gary Zeiger didn't just drive near the pits, he lived for them. He was a 19-year-old with a 4x4 who always liked to see where he could go without getting stuck.
I mean, that's a whole lifestyle. I know people that are like that.
In Texas, we go mudding to see that same thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, of course you're going to find his shit there because he was there all the time. That's like finding something in your house and you're like, well, yeah, I live here.
That's like I said, finding wine droplets in my house.
I mean, now I don't know how they presented all the time. Like, was it raining? Blah, blah, like, did they even try that far to explain it? Probably not. Knowing what all we know about this, I do not have high hopes for any.
Because we also know someone else hung out at gravel pits.
In a 4x4. Who left bodies at gravel pits.
Who left bodies and also did target. I mean, no.
Now, if Zeiger's tracks were at the pit, it wasn't proof of murder, but it was proof he was off-roading in his own backyard. And the proximity to the body was, in Larson's narrative, a tragic coincidence in a location Zeiger frequented for fun. And I mean, yeah. That doesn't mean anything.
It literally means nothing.
Yeah.
It literally. But first on the stand for the defense was Paul S. Donahue, a witness who claimed to have seen a girl matching ZeZe's description hitchhiking on Jewel Lake Road after 2 p.m. An hour after the state's witness, Hiram Matthews, allegedly saw her picked up by Gary and Ralph.
What a time.
While he wasn't out and out positive when shown photos of ZeZe, he noted a striking similarity. Crucially, his description of her clothing, the sweater and the hat, matched the specific exhibits the jury had been staring at for days. So he might not have recognized her face, but he recognized her hat and her clothes.
Mm-hmm. And it's an hour after the truck driver. Now, then, in a moment that sent the courtroom into a frenzy, Donahue suddenly refused to answer a question. Hi, monkey butt.
You can say monkey butt. There's nothing overly graphic.
Donahue suddenly refused to answer a question from the prosecutor, citing his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, you guys. What I wouldn't have loved to have been at this trial. Now, Judge Moody cleared the jury immediately to find out what a simple hitchhiker sighting witness could possibly be guilty of, right? This is on, like, this never happens in trials.
I know. I'm like, okay,
like, what?
The truth was a blow to the integrity of the investigation.
Oh, you don't say. They're the most.
I'd be like, it's Alaska. What investigation do they do? Anyway, Donahue revealed that a week before the trial, he had been called by Alaska State Trooper investigator Roger Benson. Donahue, knowing Benson was a friend of his brother, feared that testifying against the trooper's timeline would make him a target.
What? Yikes.
Trooper Benson had told him that if he were uncertain about seeing ZeZe, he should be sure and just say so in court.
Yikes. Now, to the defense.
Tampering with a witness much?
Mm-hmm. And remember, there was already speculation about there being a cover-up long before this trial.
I mean, even Paw Patrol does better than that. I'm serious, guys. Paw Patrol does a better job than Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Now, to the defense, this looked like an attempt by the troopers to soften a witness who threatened their airtight case, also known as witness tampering. Though Donahue eventually told the jury the call hadn't changed his testimony, the seed was planted that maybe the troopers were protecting their theory, not necessarily the truth. Oh, man, what a wild day that must have been.
I know. I'm like, man, we need to watch live stream trials in Alaska if this is the shit that goes down.
Right?
While Paul Donahue's testimony had cracked the door, Patricia Billimack kicked it off the hinges, okay, as an Anchorage housewife with no connection to the fast and hard crowd or the construction world. She was the ultimate reliable witness.
Now, her account was devastatingly simple. She testified that she had picked up a young woman she was absolutely certain was ZeZe Mason between 5 and 6 p.m. on August 22nd. According to the prosecution, ZeZe would have already been dead or dying in the gravel pit by 4 p.m. Well, this is not great for their timeline.
I mean, she is dead certain. She doesn't just think. Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah, these people don't fucking know any of these people, by the way.
These men just need to let the women do the real work. And I know I should never say the real work, but for women, but yeah, anyway, we're going to move on. Unlike other witnesses who were fairly sure, Patricia Bilmek was unwavering. She had seen ZeZe's photo in the Sunday Daily News on August 27th, the day before her body was found, when ZeZe, remember, was still listed as a missing person.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't been tracked down by the defense. She had actually called the state troopers herself the moment she saw the newspaper, intent on helping them find a girl she believed was still alive. What the fuckery?
Of course. Of course. Now, Prosecutor Mackey attempted to shake her during a rigorous cross-examination, but the Kodiak skeptics on the jury watched as the Anchorage housewife held her ground. Defense attorney Larry Kulik, so you believe this is the same girl you picked up that day? Yes. Are you sure of that? Yes.
She repeated her assurance several times. To the jury, she represented the average Alaskan, someone who had no reason to lie for Gary Zeiger. If she saw ZeZe at 6 p.m., then the 700 pounds of evidence against Gary was essentially 700 pounds of trash.
Now, with Bellamic's testimony, the inverted tire tracks and the dime-sized blood spot lost their power. If ZeZe was alive and hitchhiking at 6 p.m., she couldn't have been the girl the truck driver saw in Gary's vehicle at 4 p.m. This left the prosecution with a terrifying possibility. Perhaps there were two young women hitchhiking in South Anchorage that day, a very common practice in 1972. What? Now, one got into Gary Zeiger's truck and, as he claimed, was dropped off safely. The other woman, maybe ZeZe Mason, got into a different vehicle later that evening. Couldn't be. It couldn't be two brown-headed women.
Because, if Patricia Bilmek's testimony kicked the door open, then the next two defense witnesses were going to burn the room down, and I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution's theory puts the time of death of ZeZe Mason in the afternoon of August 22nd. But Deborah Watts and Alan McCuller placed her at the Tudor Road Food Liner store at 9 p.m. on August 22nd.
Now, Deborah wasn't just guessing at a date either. She anchored her memory because it was primary election day. And unlike a stranger catching a glimpse on a highway or in a gravel pit, she had known ZeZe for several months. Okay, they knew her. They know what she looks like. They knew her name. So, okay,
my question is, why are they having an election primary in August?
You have yours way earlier than ours. Ours is in like August, or I'm sorry, March. Different states are wild on them, by the way. I looked into it one time and I was like, well, this is crazy.
August?
It's Alaska. Nothing makes sense there.
Okay.
I don't know.
She describes ZeZe's clothing with the precision that matched the prosecution's own evidence exhibits. Not great for them.
No.
Then claimed that she had cashed a check for ZeZe on the same August 22nd day. In the courtroom, this felt like the final nail in the state's coffin. If ZeZe was buying groceries and cashing checks at 9 p.m., then the state's 4 p.m. murder theory was just a fantasy.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what, if anything, she said ZeZe bought, but I am curious to know if it was sunflower seeds. Like, is that when she bought them? Like, when are we going to find out more about these sunflower seeds? Because
if somebody in Alaska knows about the sunflower seeds, could you
please
reach out?
Let me know. It's very important to the case. It is.
We
I mean, I wish I had the trial transcripts, is all I'm saying. Did anybody ask about the sunflower seeds? Now, on cross, a seemingly desperate Mackey and backed by Sergeant Gilmore's investigators scrambled to perform a real-time fact check. They brought in the food liner store manager, the dated ticker tape, and the actual canceled check. And the records show the check had actually been cashed on August 12th, not the 22nd. Not great.
So they brought them in as a rebuttal witness, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But despite the physical
The
evidence...
one thing they have facts for. In this case.
But despite the physical evidence of the check, the witness remained unshakable. She didn't care about the ticker tape or the manager's ledger.
Mm-mm.
She looked the jury in the eye and insisted she had seen ZeZe on the 22nd. The Kodiak skeptics had to ask themselves which was more reliable, a bank stamp that could be misread, or the honest memory of a woman who knew the victim by name.
I mean, of all the eyewitnesses, nobody really knew ZeZe at all, except for her and some other ones we're about to hear about.
And if she was a friend of ZeZe's or she knew her, she would want the person who did it to go to prison, guys.
Yeah.
She would not be doing this to get somebody off. So that's the thing I think it is also important.
Exactly. Now, the testimony of Alan McCuller was the final devastating blow to the state's case. He had known ZeZe Mason for 3 years, and his story put a completely different set of men in the frame. His description of what she was wearing matched the prosecution's exhibits perfectly, reinforcing that he was indeed looking at ZeZe that night. I mean, 3 years. Like, how do you get that wrong?
Yeah. He testified that at closing time on the night of August 22nd, he personally walked to the front of the Food Liner store to unlock the door. There he saw ZeZe leaving the building in the company of 2 men. When asked to look at the defendant, McCuller was certain neither of those men were Gary Zingre.
Ooh, that's not great.
And I have to ask, do you know if they knew each other, the last 2 witnesses?
Yeah, they worked together. Alan and Deborah, they both worked at the Food Liner store together. But I think Alan went to school with her and stuff.
Okay.
So he knew her.
He knew her.
From what I gathered from the story is that Alan was young as well.
Okay.
And that him and ZeZe were I think they went to school.
So another person who wouldn't want her killer to get off.
Especially him. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so, of the 2 of them.
I'm just telling you what I would be thinking as a juror.
Oh, yeah. Deborah knew her for a couple months from her coming into the store, but
Alan
she didn't know her. You know what I mean? But Alan knew her. And yeah, you're like, Llama, 2 men. Wait, what? Well, I have my theories that Robert didn't act alone all of the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But the fact is that is really, that's a punch in the face for the prosecution. In my book, as a witness, that is a very solid.
Yeah. I would have hung the jury with that.
Yeah.
If nobody wanted to come my way.
Yeah. Now, Prosecutor Mackey thought he had a gotcha moment, because of course he did. He showed him the store's financial records and the check ZeZe had written on the 12th to show that he too was wrong about seeing her that night.
But Alan didn't flinch.
Mm-mm.
In a moment of raw, honest testimony that resonated with the jury, he admitted his mistake without letting it break his certainty. I definitely saw her on the 22nd. I told the police I took a check that night, but I was wrong about that.
Right? I mean, just because you're wrong about one part of it doesn't...
Normally, you remember to check from this date, and then she came in again. I mean...
Now, by admitting he was wrong about the paperwork, but definite about the person, Alan made himself more believable. He wasn't a robot repeating a script. He was a man who remembered looking his friend in the eye as he let her out of the store 5 hours after the prosecution claimed she was already dead. I mean, that's pretty powerful
That's
stuff,
right.
man. It's not great.
But get ready. The most shocking revelation for the jury was that the police never followed up.
For the jury, it's shocking. For us, that sounds about right.
It sounds like Alaska. Both Mrs. Watts and Mr. Kohler had told the troopers about seeing ZeZe on the night of the 22nd, early in the investigation.
Mm-hmm. Those
Oh,
two,
it's
the
like Patty
lady.
Roberts all over again. People just aren't listening.
Mm-mm. Now, the troopers, however, had already found their inverted tires and their hard suspect in Gary Zeiger. And because Deborah and Alan didn't fit the Zeiger killed her at 4 p.m. theory, so their statements were essentially buried. They were the inconvenient witnesses that the state had hoped would simply go away. But they didn't.
They did.
And again, if you knew her, why would you
Right.
testify for the defense in
That's
this?
what I'm
I mean,
saying. Why would
like,
you
well, I
want
mean, you don't really have a choice. If they call you and subpoena, you have to
but
show up.
you
But
But they
yeah,
called the cops early on. It's not like the
mhm,
defense just found them later. They called early on.
mhm,
Yeah. The
mm,
testimony also turned the spotlight back on Dr. Rogers, the pathologist. If the witnesses were right, then his handwritten correction claiming the cold gravel had slowed decomposition was a convenient adjustment to help the troopers fit a square peg into a round
mm.
hole. That's a cover up, but if ZeZe was alive on the 22nd, she had survived the window of Zeiger's involvement. She had slipped through the fingers of the loud suspect and into the arms of someone else.
Now, the climax of the trial in Kodiak wasn't a forensic report or a piece of physical evidence. It was the man himself. The courtroom transformed into a vacuum of silence as Gary Zeiger walked to the witness stand. The hard and fast construction worker, the man with a vicious reputation, was finally going to speak. Oh man, this trial was wild.
I just
That's
have
all
to
I'm
know
saying.
what is hard and fast for a 19-year-old male?
No, you're doing guns and
I know, but I'm like,
drugs and girls,
I live
breaking the
in
law.
Texas, and I would explain all 19-year-old males almost that way. But
I don't know. The 70s are weird.
70s were wild. I know. Maybe that's why I was born then.
Maybe.
But defense attorney John Larson didn't lead his client through a long, winding narrative. He went straight for the heart of the matter. Did you kill ZeZe Mason, Gary? No, I did not. The response wasn't a shout or a sob. It was delivered in a firm, quiet voice. For the jury, this was their first real look at the man behind the psychopath label the troopers had provided.
We will continue with my. He didn't shut the door, and the wind is taking my. I don't want it to rip my screen door off. Oh my goodness! I'll be right back.
Prosecutor Mackey took a combative stance in his cross examination. He wasn't looking for facts, though. He was looking for a reaction. He wanted the vicious Zeiger to snap under the pressure and show the jury the monster the state claimed he was. When Gary calmly stated he didn't recognize snapshots of ZeZe alive, Mackey shoved a bloody color photo of her body in front of him. Take a close look at this. Do you know her? But Gary didn't flinch. He looked at the grisly image and repeated his quiet denial. No, I do not. How awful.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mackie hammered away at the 2.5-foot gap. The proximity of Zingre's unique tire tracks to the blood and drag marks in the pit. He pushed Gary on the human blood in his truck. Well, human. In a moment of unexpected humility that likely resonated with the blue-collar Kodiak jury, Gary pushed back against Mackey's aggressive legal phrasing, saying, I'm not as educated as you. I can't follow that question. To which Mackey said, oh, come on, Mr. Zingre. You're doing a fine job answering these questions. I don't know if that's how he sounded, but I'm just going to make him sound pompous.
Yeah. But Judge Moody had to step in to keep the two from a physical or verbal confrontation. Gary immediately apologized to the court, presenting an image of a respectable, of unrefined man, much different than that of a stone-cold killer narrative Mackie was pushing.
Now, for closing arguments, Prosecutor Mackey didn't focus on the 700 pounds of physical evidence that they brought 250 miles that they made important for 5 days. No, instead, he pointed to a small, unobtrusive exchange from Gary Zingre's own testimony. Excuse me. Mackey argued that Gary's memory was too convenient. He remembered times, people, and weather with precision, yet was uncertain about driving in the exact spot where the body was found compared to everybody else's memory. But okay.
I mean, I just want to know from those watching and listening, how many of you have parked your car at the grocery store and forgot where you parked your car?
Not me, but B does all the time.
I do.
One of us have to be in charge of life, and it's me.
All the damn time. See, even Amy. So I'm like,
yeah,
not remembering exactly if you. Come on, people. I mean, I recently put milk in the pantry.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not that great about memories either, especially on a day that, listen, also, if it was not a significant day for him, because why would you remember it anyway?
He goes there all the time, and that's why I can't remember at the grocery store. You go all the time. It's not a significant event.
Like some things when it comes to like people's memory on trial, right? Like I do get people my memory is not the greatest. Nobody's is. But then there are certain things where it's like anybody would remember that. Shut up. No, you know, but I don't feel like this is actually one of these things. Right.
One of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mackie then stacked the case on the truck washing theory. He told the jurors if they believed the tire tracks in the creek belonged to Gary, despite his denial, then they had the right to conclude the defendant was a liar. And if he lied about the creek, he had lied about the killing. Betty, yes, 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 yes.
Now, John Larson went for the jugular of the state's timeline by putting the investigation itself on trial. He reminded the jury that the pathologist's original opinion still suggested ZeZe had only been dead for 48 hours when found, a timeline that would completely exonerate Gary Zingre. And I say exonerate because he had a great, solid alibi for that time frame. I just didn't go into detail about it, but that's right. Remember at the very beginning, they were like, she didn't die here. She was brought here just recently, blah, 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 blah.
Larson's strongest card remained the witnesses like Deborah Watts and Alan McCullough. If ZeZe was alive at 9 p.m., the state's case wasn't just weak. It was literally impossible. He acknowledged the brutality of the murder, but delivered a final warning to the jury. There's only one thing which could be worse, and that is to convict an innocent man.
And after 8 days of high-tension testimony, the fate of Gary Zingre was placed into the hands of 12 Kodiak residents. Judge Moody ordered the jury sequestered, cutting them off from the world until they could answer a single question. Was Gary Zingre a murderer or a man caught in a circumstantial nightmare? Also, let us know in the comments or in chat what you're feeling. It's okay if you don't agree with us. It's fine.
Let us
You let us know.
I
What
just
would your
have one of
verdict be?
those shiny ball moments. Is the Kodiak bear named after Kodiak, Alaska?
I
Or is
believe so.
Kodiak, Alaska named after the bear?
Ooh, that's a fun, good question.
Sorry,
I
just
don't know.
popped into my little ADD brain. I'm like, wait a minute, which
I
one
don't
came
know,
first?
but I want to find out.
I think Gary, because I know about Gary, I think he's not a great person. I do not think he is guilty.
I don't
They
think
have
he is.
given me so much reasonable doubt, you could drive my fat ass there.
Right. Thinking somebody's not guilty doesn't mean that they're innocent.
Right.
But this trial's a fucking joke. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? But hold on, we'll continue on and I'll save more of that. Actually, I bet Kodiak is named after the Kodiak. The word Kodiak sounds like an indigenous word.
I know,
And so
but
it's probably the
need
name of
to
the bear, and then
know.
they named the town after that.
I need to know. So could you
But those
do your
bears are
little
all over the place.
llama learn miracle and give me
I
the
will.
information?
I will get back to you and update you. Hi, Lainey. I miss you.
Hi,
I
Lainey.
hope you're doing good. I haven't seen you in so long. I hope you're well. You superstar.
Lainey, I need you to promise me something right now, and I need you to put it in the chat that you will agree. You will never do a show in Alaska unless Llama and I go with you, because
right.
this place is not for women and you need someone to have your back and to keep you safe. Am I wrong, Llama?
No, that's way better than I thought, whatever you could have possibly asked her. So yeah, nailed it.
Llama was like, oh shit, where's Terry going?
I know, right?
The jury's deliberation was relatively brief, longer than the Corey Richards.
That's true. That is true.
Lasting only 6 hours. So, however, okay, we're going to get back to that, Lainey. However, a late night session revealed exactly where the battle was won and lost. The jury foreman requested to hear the testimony of the two defense witnesses, Patricia Billamek and Alan McCuller, one more time.
Patricia was the woman who said she picked her up for hitchhiking. Alan was her friend from the
And he
store.
knew her for 3 years, went to school. Yes. One female
wait, no,
juror.
Patricia worked at this. No, Deborah worked at the store.
Deborah worked at the store.
Patricia picked her up. Okay, sorry. There's a lot of names.
Hey,
guys.
Lainey, could you email me, Terry at TCWTmedia.com, that information? Because, girl, I go to Dallas all the time, and I will go there to see you. I know where Capel is. Lived right down the road. I will go there to see you, and then we will send pictures and make Llama so jealous.
You'll make me so jealous. I'll make you just have me on the camera.
Maybe she'll give me permission to let me live stream it
to me
for all of you guys.
Just be like, that's for Llama. It's fine.
One female jury was reportedly the holdout. I told y'all it was going to be me, needing to be absolutely certain of what she heard.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Write it down, June 13th. Okay.
Oh, sorry. The heavy silence of the Kodiak courtroom was finally broken. After nearly 5 months of incarceration, this was a speedy trial, yo. And a trial, and a trial that pushed the Alaska state troopers to their absolute limit. The jury returned with a decision that would send shockwaves from the Gulf of Alaska back to the streets of Anchorage.
The clerk read the words, not guilty, on all 3 counts of first-degree murder. As the words not guilty echoed in the courtroom, the tension that had gripped the Zingre family for months finally snapped. Gary's parents, George and his wife rushed to the defense table. It was a scene of a Terry moments. It does say Terry moments, hugs and handshakes. Mhm. For the Zingers, the system had almost crushed an innocent man. For the prosecution, a killer had just walked out the front door. I resemble that remark.
You can tell Llama has all sorts of typos in this one. I must have been watching something while typing or something.
We were probably talking and chatting somewhere.
Who knows? Now, the most honest assessment of the trial came from a male juror speaking to the Daily News after the jurors were dismissed. Quote, "We just don't think that they, the state, proved he did it. He may have done it, but it wasn't proved to us. And I agree."
I agree. Are you getting another drink?
No.
Oh, I just
letting the dogs out.
Oh, I just thought I heard.
No, that was my door. That was my screen door trying to open because of how cold it is.
I had to stop after what? The statement captures the tragedy of the ZeZe Mason case. The jury didn't necessarily believe Gary Zingre was a saint. They simply believed the state's airtight case was full of holes. By failing to account for the witnesses who saw ZeZe alive at 9 p.m., the troopers had basically handed the defense the ultimate weapon, the truth of a timeline. I'm sorry, them not calling or investigating them, they sealed the deal.
They did. They did. Now, the acquittal of Gary Zingre was a catastrophic failure for Alaska law enforcement because they were so certain, their gut instincts. Remember what Sergeant Gilmore said? "Oh, I knew it in my gut. It was this guy." Since they were so certain that Zingre was their man, they had neglected to follow other leads. When he was acquitted, there was no plan B. Anchorage was left with a terrifying reality that ZeZe Mason's killer was still out there, and the troopers had no idea who he was. Was it the same person responsible for ZeZe who was responsible for the murders of Beth Van Zanten and Shirley Ann Jonas? Was there a serial killer on the loose? I mean, there was.
I mean, I'm going to just go on the record and say right now, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there still is
in
Alaska today. The acquittal in Kodiak didn't lead to a quiet life for Gary Zingre. Instead, it seemed to serve as a green light for descent into even darker, more organized criminality. The vicious reputation the troopers had cited in court proved to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Now, emboldened by his victory over the state, Zingre drove headlong into the gritty underworld of Spinard. He wasn't just a suspect in crimes of passion anymore. He became a player in the violent power struggles of the Anchorage vice scene. Yeah, we told you he's not a good guy, guys.
But I still don't think he did.
I don't think he killed ZeZe.
I don't think he killed ZeZe because it doesn't go with what his stuff is. Gary was implicated in the cold-blooded execution of Johnny Rich, a move designed to seize control of Rich Spinard's massage parlor. His name was linked to an even more high-profile hit, the murders of the wife and stepson of a prominent Anchorage nightclub owner. He wanted money.
Yeah, it's all about money and power. And I'm not saying people that kill for money and power obviously wouldn't kill a woman for that. It's just everything about ZeZe's case actually matches up more with Robert Hansen than this guy.
It does.
Now, Gary had moved from a person of interest to a professional liability. He was no longer just a danger to hitchhikers. He was a danger to the established order of the Anchorage underworld. As the troopers meticulously prepared a new case to put Zingre away for good, the streets of Anchorage decided not to wait for a jury this time.
On November 27th, 1973, at mile 110 of the Seaward Highway, ironically, just a short distance from where Beth Van Zetten's body had been discovered years earlier, Gary Zingre was found sprawled on the pavement, his life ended by a fatal gunshot blast to the stomach.
Oof.
The clinical precision of the hit and the choice of the location pointed to a contract killer. In the wild frontier of 1970s Anchorage, someone had decided that Gary Zingre was 2 killings too many.
Now, the story of what all happened after the trial was over for Gary is absolutely fucking wild, okay? It is crazy, but I'm not allowed to make this series longer than I already have. I've been told that. So if you would like to hear about that tale, and trust me, you do, because Amos, instead of joining us for our Marvel marathon, was messaging me last night, WTF, did you know about this? And I was like, yeah, girl, I told everybody, if they want to know about it, let me know, and I will do bonus episodes in the future.
We can always do bonus episodes. Guys, let me just be clear. I'm not trying to cut Llama short of the story. I'm just trying to fit it all into March because I'm going to be having surgery.
That's true.
In
She's
April.
Not a tyrant.
And we need to do it, and we can do some follow-up episodes in May because I'll need it.
But honestly, like his murder, what he did in between, it is just as crazy as everything, even crazier. Even crazier. Like it's nuts. Yeah. So if you want to hear that, let us know in the comments or the chat, and we'll add it to our bonus. I mean, yeah, like I said, he is a shitbag. Okay, he is. But I don't. Again, just because you think somebody's a shitbag doesn't make him guilty of that murder. Right. And that's not the right thing to do.
Right.
Now, as I said, if you want to hear it, you do. You absolutely, if you're like, man, Llama hasn't let me down so far in this story, it does get worse and crazy. It gets way crazier with him. It's nuts.
Why don't you just get busy doing some bonus episodes and schedule them for me?
Well, and there's the Beavers guy, his old boss. Like there's some crazy stuff was happening.
We're going to need to go back to Alaska. Let's just be honest.
We're going to end up going back to Alaska, y'all, because it's wow.
And just so you know, there's some new ZeZe news out. You're going to need to do a bonus episode on the ZeZe.
I do need to.
Because I was reading that this weekend, and I was like, oh, Llama.
I am not at all up to date. Oh my gosh. Stop it. Nope. Not until I'm done writing all the rest of the episodes. Don't send me anything. Don't do it.
Okay. I love to do what I'm told not to do. So, in his later confessions, a decade later, Hansen was notoriously selective on which murders he would admit to.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted to the easy murders, the ones where the bodies were found with evidence that he knew pointed at him. And he only admitted to the murdering of sex workers, but not any respectable women.
Quotes. That's in quotes. Just so listeners know. Respectable quotes. Women.
If we say respectable and it has anything to do with Hansen, just know. Yeah.
Just know it's all it's literally in quotes on our writings.
He was much more guarded about what is widely to believe some of his earliest victims, perhaps fearing that admitting to the Southside slangs would prove that he had been a monster much longer than anyone realized, but that Terry and Llama know.
Yeah.
My gut tells me, trust your gut.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sergeant Walter Gilmore trusted his, and he was wrong. But, I'll trust mine because mine tends to be right quite a lot more than his. So, I do believe that there were murders in his younger years in the Midwest. And I just want to say, if Robert Hansen was the real killer, then Gary Zingre's acquittal was the best thing that ever happened to him. Because it didn't just free one man, okay? Ineffectively closed the cases of Beth Van Zanten, Shirley Jonas and ZeZe Masons in the eyes of the law for years, allowing the real butcher baker to vanish back into his bakery. Because guess what they didn't do, guys? I know you're all shocked. You're all so shocked when I'm about to say this. They didn't bother looking into any of those anymore whatsoever. Even after.
I know. That's what is just.
Because they don't want to fucking admit their mistakes.
Mm. Have you noticed that we haven't had one single female trooper? Men don't admit their mistakes. Back in the 70s.
We're gonna get
I will tell you this.
Yeah.
Every time I go to a bakery now, I'm going to be looking at the baker with weird eyes, just saying. I'm going to be like, I like her croissant, but what do you do?
Right.
Well, guys, next time on True Crime and Wine Times, Frozen Fear, which will be on Wednesday night. So today is Monday. We're also doing it on Wednesday and then again on Thursday. So the Butcher Baker of Alaska series, we continue delving into the heart of the silent decade, where the transition from a rehabilitated, and that is some big ass quotes. I can't even get them on camera. They're so big.
Right.
Citizen to a calculating ghost becomes complete.
We're going to begin on the 4th of July weekend in 1973. While the rest of Alaska celebrates, Robert Hansen secures official permission from his parole officer to take his boat to seaward. He claims it's a solitary fishing trip, but as the fireworks fade, 17-year-old Megan Emmerich vanishes from a dormitory laundry room at the Seaward Skill Center. We'll explore how a Yukon girl who knew the woods could be lured away by a man who spoke her language, the language of the hunt.
But the silence only grows. We'll follow the trail into 1975 when Hansen returns to those same waters. We'll tell the story of Mary Kathleen Thill, a 22-year-old wife waiting for her husband to return from the pipeline, who disappears in broad daylight near a Seward waterfall. Was she the victim of a predator who couldn't resist her red hair? Or just another X on a map that the ocean was designed to hide?
And then we'll also, because of course there's more, we'll recount the Jane Doe who fought back, a dancer with a double life who looked Hansen in the eye and gave the police his license plate and his description, only to be silenced by a legal system that protected the predator more than the prey. Unless it was Gary Zeiger, then they were like, nope, that motherfucker did it.
And guys, this is the reason that I was like, we got to do this on Wednesday and not Tuesday, because I got lots to say about the whole shenanigans that go down.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, it is like a bad novel, because they say truth is stranger than fiction. We are getting, it gets worse, people. It gets worse.
Honestly, what we're covering is like all the stuff you don't hear about in the documentary. The documentaries and stuff like only want to talk about his 1980s.
I know. I watched the documentary. Uh-oh.
So we're going to end up at what? I froze?
You did. I'm going to have to go back and get a screenshot of that.
Never mind.
Finally, we'll witness the bizarre 1976 chainsaw incident at Fred Meyer. Oh my gosh. It was a shoplifting charge that did what a decade of violence couldn't. Guys, it stripped away the Meek Baker mask. But as the law closed one door, Hansen opened another by purchasing a Piper Super Cub. That's a plane, if you didn't know. And preparing to take his hunt from the roadside to the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Boat to water to sky. Join us for part 6, The Silent Decade, 1973 through 1977. The C word marks Megan Emmerich and Mary Kathleen Thill.
Oh boy. Now, before I go into my carefully crafted closing thoughts, at the beginning I told you all, hey, we're going to talk about this thing that actually doesn't really have a lot to do with Robert Hansen, but it's really important in the grand scheme of things. And so after listening to all of this trial, I wanted to really dive deep into this to show you the ineptness from all points of view. The investigators didn't do a good job at all. The prosecution didn't do a good job at all. It didn't really matter who at the time they even put up there, that they wanted to rush the judgment, they were willing to throw somebody on the bus with no evidence. And the reason why I want to point that out is because that shit happens all the time. All right. But how many times have we heard so far, and we're going to hear more, where Robert Hansen is basically given a get out of jail free card, allowed to walk, do whatever he wants, when we have proof he has been charged with harming women, kidnapping them, assaulting them with a gun, raping them. And they're like, nope, it's fine, including the investigators and the state who do that. But yet, Gary, they're going to go with the easy path.
Did they just not look at Robert Hansen because he made their donuts? I know that is
because they made their donuts, because he was weak looking and couldn't do it.
It was Mary.
Listen, I don't know if Gary did it or not. I don't think he did. I think he's actually factually innocent of that case.
I think he's.
I don't have the trial. Innocent. I don't have the trial transcripts. Okay. All my information I got was from the papers. And let me tell you what, those papers wanted Gary to be it. Okay. The police obviously wanted to. They fed the media constantly.
You would think the two people who knew her would have wanted it to be him. So that's what I'm saying. These are two people. They had nothing to gain by letting a person that they knew kill her get away.
But because they wanted to cover their own asses and go after Gary, literally Beth, Shirley, and ZeZe, nothing gave any of them justice, because a bunch of fucking bullshit where people are still too proud 50 years later to admit that they were blind and fucked up. And that's disgusting. Even after learning, I mean, listen, I didn't try to manipulate the story to make it look like Robert Hansen. If you have half a brain, it's very obvious. All right. Everything is telltale from beginning to end. You guys may not know it yet because you don't know the story, but I do. And trust me, at the end, you're going to be like, oh my God. Like, it's not even like
you're going to do what the prosecutor said he was going to do.
Yes.
He was going to make it all come together. Just wait for the end. But Llama, you are going to back up what you're saying, because guess what? We wouldn't be doing this story if you didn't.
No, I mean, these were, so when we did the first episode, we wrote it. Well, Lady in Gray researched it, and then I wrote it, and then I was looking in for some more information. And this was all the sort of stuff, the last couple episodes that I was stumbling on, that I was like, holy fucking shit, Terry.
I'm waiting for you to go to the Midwest and start researching murders there.
Like, it's so, we've covered a lot of cases. I've covered a lot of cases before we met, covered, researching, and I'm a huge nerd. And I have never had a case that literally pisses me off every single it is so disappointing. And listen,
and it keeps getting worse.
It literally keeps getting worse. It's not even
normally it gets bad and that's it. This just
no. And then we had decided to watch Lost Women of Alaska on Sunday. Something that took place in 2019, 16, somewhere around there. Not that long ago. And literally every single thing was still the same, you guys.
Go watch it, everybody.
They have literally learned nothing at all. And y'all are going to be pissed. All right. Like, but Terry and I were raging because
We were.
this whole time, I'm thinking, oh, this is all horrible. All right. Everything about Hansen from beginning to end is just unbelievable. But surely we'd have to have learned something, right? Surely. No.
Stevens learned something. So if you go watch The Women in Alaska, another killer learned something from Robert Hansen that the police didn't learn. And that is what is sickening to me. And that's what kind of pushed me over the edge.
And they're still making their own fucking excuses for their bullshit.
Yeah.
Covering their own asses. And it's ridiculous. And I'm so over Alaska.
Gonna be rants.
Yeah. I'm so over them. It's so
nobody go to Alaska. Nobody.
It's so infuriating. Safe. No, it's not safe.
And if you've got brown hair, if you've got not lily white skin, and if you happen to be a sex worker, you're screwed.
Listen, even obviously right now we just showed you too in the 70s. It didn't matter who the fuck you were. If you're a woman, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I really wanted to tell the trial of Gary Zingre. I do want to tell you guys more of his story because it is nuts. But I just wanted to show that, you know what, even if they had gotten Hansen, what would they have look at what we're dealing with here. Look at the ineptness from beginning to end. The fact that the prosecutor, I can't, my brain
look
can't.
At what they already did with Hansen.
Yeah.
They let him.
And they didn't even look at him. A sex predator in a halfway house that just got out of prison. And you don't think to yourself, maybe he kidnapped this girl with a gun like he did the other ones that we know of.
Start with those known. Savage says we're not the boss of him.
Savage is going to Alaska.
Well, you know what, Savage? You can go to Alaska.
You're coming with us.
Because to the best of my knowledge, you're not a female.
And I'll be like, get him.
So go ahead. You're safe there.
Send my genius billionaire. Oh, what was I watching last night, Savage? That I was like, I'm going to have to tell him to change this. I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy last night. I can't remember what the name
is. That the one with the raccoon?
Yes.
Okay.
But I have a new name suggestion when we get there for you. Don't change your name yet. I love Genius Billionaire.
Okay.
It's a whole Marvel thing we're on. Don't worry about it, Terry.
You're not down with the snow meter, Savage. Unless I go to Finland.
But anyway, so that's why this episode was really told the whole way through, is just to show that it wasn't just Hansen specific. Like, they really dropped the ball everywhere, and they dropped the ball for all of these women even then. And they had too much pride to go back and try to do the right thing. But let me go into my much better crafted. Oh, I keep hitting the outlet with my foot.
I'm like, what was that?
I know. I was like, oh my God, don't let me lose power. Anyway, all right. So my actual closing thoughts when I wasn't so angry. So the most profound failure of the Zingre trial wasn't that they had the wrong man. It was that they had the right type of man and stopped looking. They were so focused on the inverted track in the mud that they missed the predator in the bakery who was learning how to leave no tracks at all. And these will be words you'll hear from himself later. Now, investigators were playing a game of checkers when in actual... Is it?
Yes, of course it is. Beautiful eyes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's his actual picture.
No, I love it.
Did you not think so?
You never know.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I think that's...
I try not to assume.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway, so investigators were playing a game of checkers with a stone-cold psychopath, while Robert Hansen was playing a game of chess with the entire state of Alaska. We look back at the feud between the coroner and the troopers. The clinical ambiguity. Oh, look at that. Nailed it this time. of the autopsy reports and the bureaucratic dead zones of the halfway houses. And we see a system that was more interested in its own procedures than the reality of a serial killer. They treated these women like puzzle pieces with no meaning until the end of a trial, while their families, the Masons, and by the way, we may have laughed and mocked Gary's trial, the poor Masons.
Oh,
After the fact, we did not talk about them, and that's my apology for not writing how they must have felt.
Well, we don't know
It's a
'cause
slap
there's
in the
not a
face.
lot.
There wasn't. Listen, there would have been if I would have found it, but it was literally that trial, regardless,
Yeah.
a slap in the face from the state to the family.
Absolutely.
Of
They
ZeZe.
did a disservice to the
They
Masons.
did. It was disgusting. Disgusting. Sorry. So the Masons, the Jonases, and the Van Zands were left to navigate the wreckage of a silent decade that refused to give them the truth and still can't give them a truth 50 plus years later. Perhaps the most haunting irony of all is that the Meeker Baker didn't need to hide. He just needed the police to be busy chasing a man who wore his violence on his sleeve, the easy catch.
The easy one.
As long as the investigators were fighting over $75,000 bonds and witness lineups in Kodiak, Robert Hansen was free to walk the Anchorage Strip, scouting the next disposable life and protected by the very mask of normalcy and respectability. The state refused to peel back. The Zingre verdict was not guilty. But for the young women of Anchorage, the real verdict was much more grim. The monster was still among them, and he had just learned exactly how to stay invisible. And that it didn't matter what kind of woman you were. They don't care. So, and that's the end of my closing thoughts there.
Before I get into my closing thoughts, I just need to make explicitly sure everyone understands that I was not saying Robert Hansen had beautiful eyes.
No,
I was saying
Savage.
Savage Gascio has beautiful eyes. And I've made the comment off camera before, not knowing if that was a real picture, that your eyes are beautiful. And
don't make it weird, Amy.
Llama,
yeah.
I am here to tell you something magical just happened in my office.
What?
Because of the cold front. I think we have a little baby meese that just ran by my desk.
That's a baby one?
It was a baby one. I heard it and I was like, what is that? It was a little bitty. I will have to put out my little thing because I'm going to catch them. And
you and I are very different people.
No, but it was a little bitty.
We annihilated a whole family.
We left the door open last night for the dogs to go in and out instead of just the doggy door because the flap was flying up. So we just opened the door. So I'm wondering if the mama brought them in. I got babies.
You and I are very different people.
If I catch them, I will name them after you. And I will take pictures of them for you.
I'm good, thanks. Can I return your gift? I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like an unappreciative a-hole, but
I know they're never just one. The last time we had the little babies, because they're also doing construction, we bought the mama and 6 little babies, but I made the mistake of releasing them all by themselves. We said if it ever happened again, I would catch them all and release them together as a family so that I didn't break up the family.
I killed them all and put them all in my trash can. So I didn't. B did it. I would never do that.
Didn't even bury them. Okay, that's fine. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. So my closing thought, I hate Alaska. Not all police are bad. Not all police are bad. There are a couple very small few in Alaska that we hear about that are
We'll hear about them in the store. They're coming. Don't worry.
The one thing I hope is that somewhere out there, somebody is taking up money. I really would like Alaska to do DNA testing on Robert Hansen and all of the remains that they have on unsolved cases,
Yeah.
like ZeZe. Did you do swabs? These families, and I'm going to not cry, these families deserve to know what happened. We now have the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And because the case is still open, because Zyger got off, Beth is still open, all of those cases are still open. We have the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that within the rest of my lifetime, somebody does the right things and test and gives these family the answers. Because I also do think Hansen had a partner. I
Oh,
don't think
there
it
are a
was
few
just him.
times I do think there was a partner involved.
I think a lot of them he did alone, but I think
Oh, yeah. I
that
will say, too, one of the things I forgot to mention is Gary almost could have went to prison. Well, probably for 6 months because it's fucking Alaska in the 70s. But anyway, are there other innocent people in or was in prison
in this
because of crimes that they did a shitty investigation that could have actually been related to? Listen, Robert Hansen didn't just start in the 80s. I
he
don't give a
didn't.
shit who you are or
There's
what
either
you
a lot
think.
of unsolved cases or there are innocent people in prison. And
Yes,
those are the two things that they need to do DNA for.
exactly. And that was the other reason why I wanted to cover Gary's thing, is because I would put good money on that there are cases that are solved
That
that are belong to Hansen and not who's ever in it. Look what they brought to this. This is a joke.
I mean,
A joke.
it is. And so I don't like Alaska.
Yes, one part of his plea was he didn't want any press. He didn't want all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff because he's such a good guy.
I know, but no, I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. I think that there's no reason why. You know what? Here's the deal, too. If they're not going to try to fucking solve these crimes after 50 years, give us the information then. You don't want to do shit?
Exactly.
Then give it to
Open
the
the case
public then.
files because let me tell you, it has been proven that crowdfunding true crime solving can work.
They can. What? I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now I can do a better job than some of these fucking people. Okay?
Amy,
Like, this
I
is a joke.
it doesn't impact him that he's dead,
No.
but look at the yogurt shop murders that just got solved here in Austin.
Yes.
The guy who
Yes.
did it was dead. But you know what? The men who were falsely accused, one of them is no longer alive
Mhm.
because it wrecked his life after being accused of this horrific crime. Their names are cleared finally, all these years later. And finally, those girls' parents have the fucking truth.
Mhm.
And that's what matters. And that's what the impact. It is only if there's innocent people in jail, they deserve to get out. And if it's someone else who did it, they deserve to go to prison.
Mhm.
How can we use his DNA legally now?
You can't use his because you'd have to examine his body. But if there's some
I mean,
genealogy
I'd
DNA
say
out there,
there's family
because he has
members,
kids,
there's
yeah, there's probably some stuff they could do. But also, it just
yeah,
feels like,
no. It's a
you know,
good question.
no,
They've got his DNA on something. I mean, they took his clothes off of him and they put his clothes in an evidence bag. They can get his evidence.
oh, they
He
have
was
his
in
stuff.
prison. They have his DNA.
Yeah, he only
From
died in 2014, so
so
he was
they've
definitely
got
part of
his
the felon DNA submissions. Like, they have it on
Alaska
file.
is too
So,
damn lazy. We heard somebody say that they're only investigating 100 missing person cases when there's 1,300.
mm-hmm.
So why would Alaska spend their money and do it? They want everybody to think they don't have money. I asked somebody earlier today about the oil business in Alaska. And I said, how does it compare to Texas?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, Terry, why do you think we send so many Texans there to work?
Yeah.
And I had to stop and thinking about Monkey Butt stepdad who works in Alaska 8 months out of the year and then comes home.
Yeah, it's been a whole thing for decades. But I think
So
too, even for example, like even these super cold cases where a lot of their family isn't alive anymore. I think just knowing for history's sake, not even just history's sake, but like it's the end of that person's life. That if
their
we can
story.
say like this, it's their story, right?
We need
And
to
it's
give them,
horrific,
it is.
okay? It's had a horrific ending,
Who did it?
but they're
Even if
horrific. Yeah, exactly.
only the name is held accountable, it at least puts the name with it.
I mean, if all we're going to get for some of these people is a fucking name and a birthday and a death date,
Exactly.
the least we deserve to get, or the least they deserve from us in the future, is to give them some semblance of that they were here, you know, even if all we have is how they died and by whom. But that's just me being like a huge like history like person.
And I'm going to just say, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to be out having surgery in April in Alaska. You're on my hit list on my downtime.
Oh, on your downtime? You're going to be Llama. Forget about it. We're only doing Alaska shit for the rest of the year. I'm so angry.
No, there is. I'm sorry. A lot of other states have blood on their hands and they've done some bad things, but they've tried to clean it up. Alaska hasn't even tried. No. And they're okay with it. And that's the problem I have. Well, if they would own it, if they would have said, we fucked up, we are doing this better, we're trying this, we're doing this, they hadn't done that. And that put them on my hit list.
I know this show is really long and it's probably like the worst time for me to even talk about this right now. But no, I did the series, The Devil in the Bay, about Oba Chandler in Florida. And a few weeks ago, we were listening to JRL Investigates, not our favorite, but he did great Nancy Guthrie coverage. You know who called in? The lead investigator. All right.
Oh Sergeant my God. More. You're really going to bring this up right now.
I am going to bring it up right now because the shit he said, he learned from that moment of Oba Chandler's case. And he still believes it. And he called out the Arizona Tucson police for not going on the media when the media, he went to the FBI, the whole thing. We clipped it. Yeah, Amy?
Yes, it's on our community post.
You can find it in our community post. Now that is an investigator of integrity. You, Sergeant Glenn Moore.
Who's not.
2 N's. Now that, though, is an investigator with integrity who admits when they don't know how to do all of the things and that you ask for help and that you ask the community. That's the people that mofo has hubris. Okay,
that's the people I respect.
Exactly. Some hubris and humility go a long way, Alaska.
It does.
Sorry.
So Alaska, you're on my list.
That's okay.
I was super fangirling over
Sergeant Glenn Moore.
Sergeant Glenn Moore, you know.
I know. We're such nerds. We're like the only people that know us now.
A late night. We thank you all for being here. But before we go, if you like all of our rants, if you like what you heard tonight, please be sure to follow all of our socials. And if you didn't watch Midday Missing, I'll give you I am working on a parody, put together clips of Llama that will be released on all of our social channels, and she will not get a preview or an input.
Don't tell me about it.
So when it's ready, you're going to want to go to our socials. And guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is totally free. So you get all of this rant for free. You didn't even have to piss your wife off for it. You got it for free from us, right? And if you're listening on our pod, please download, give us a rating. All of that helps us tremendously in getting our channel out there. And guys, it helps us keep covering more cases.
That's right. Now, we will be back with part 6 of our Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaska series Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's not going to be as long as this one. This one's one of our longest episodes of the series, but for obvious reasons. So if you haven't hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live with it, because you're going to want to. It's a good time. We have visuals, we have rants. I don't even know what makes it into the podcast. I'm just show up. And I'm like, I'm here. And then do whatever you want.
Double H does all the editing. I don't go back and listen. I'm sure he silences me a lot.
He's just like, that llama. Oh my gosh. She's so passionate.
He's like, being with you two in a room could be a lot.
It could be. It could be. Well, is there anything you would like to say before we sign off tonight, Terry?
I do. I just want to remind you guys, just because we're talking about Alaska, everywhere can be dangerous. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to stay safe. Most importantly, if you see something, say something, because a lot of people are too scared to do the right thing. Doing the right thing is hard. So do it. Okay. Don't be like the Alaska troopers. Do the right thing. Okay. And guys, if you can't enjoy your wine time, it's okay to enjoy a martini every now and then.
That's right. Vodka's our friend tonight. Well, also on that note, why she says see something, call it bullshit too.
Yeah,
Sergeant Walter Gilmore, who also helped write a book that I think you're half full of shit on.
Something is like karma.
I don't care.
Good and bad.
I'll say it. I don't care. But no,
I would love to interview Mr. Trooper if he wants to come on and give us, if he's still alive, his thoughts and opinions on what it was like back then. Because, dude, I was born in 70. Maybe.
You know who I'd rather talk to? Investigator Maxine Farrell. That's who I'd rather talk to. Sergeant Walter Gilmore. That's who I would rather interview.
All of them. Just come on.
But no, everybody, you stay safe tonight. Have a good, hopefully warmer day for most of you. Today was freaking
And tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Don't forget to wear green.
I can't because I have a green screen. I'll just show up to my streams tomorrow just invisible. I'm here. You can't see me because of my green screen.
I started my green today.
I see that. And you hate wearing green.
I don't.
I bet I would look great in that shirt. Actually, that shirt's great.
I don't look good in green, but
you can send me all your green stuff.
So, but yes, enjoy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and just remember, green beer causes green poops.
Oof, I don't drink beer. I'm too old for that. Anyway, you all have a great rest of the evening. Until next time, go forth and be amazing. All right.